Hello and welcome to the Select Board meeting for Wednesday, May 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo. I'm going to welcome you all. We are still going via Zoom versus thanks to the governor's orders from over a year ago. I will do a roll call vote in and then we will get started. Kinsman.
Here.
Mignani.
Here.
Mitchell.
Here.
And Shear.
Here.
Great. I'm going to open it up for citizens' participation. We have a few people in the waiting room. We will admit them. There we go. As we wait for citizens' participation, if it's okay with everybody, Rajit, welcome to our Select Board meeting and welcome to Ashland.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Great.
Great. Michael or Jen, if one of you want to introduce Rajit to us and to those watching the meeting.
Sure. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Rajit Gupta to the community. Rajit is now our new public health director. We had a pretty comprehensive process and Rajit ended up on top. We had two finalists, both very capable and very qualified. But Rajit was clearly the person that was the right person for Ashland. If you had a chance to look at his resume, comes to us most recently from the city known as the town of Watertown, where he was the assistant director and the chief environmental health officer. And one of the things that really stood out about his resume to me was that he was an expert. He was one of their experts in specialized public health programs like the FDA food code and also issues related to opioids and substance abuse. And he was also the liaison for the health department with a number of other departments, agencies, and committees. And he basically promoted a lot of community partnerships that helped to identify and solve a lot of community problems. So again, I'm excited for Rajit to join our team. He's proven to be a good fit so far. And at this point, Rajit, would you like to say a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, sir. Yes. I just want to say I'm here for the community, so that's one thing. Any community member can reach out to me anytime for any public health issues or otherwise too. I feel proud, for wherever I work for the community, and given my expertise, or or the experience in public health, environmental health. I was in Watertown for over 4 years as a health inspector, as a health officer, and then the chief environmental health officer. And before that, I have been in city of Framingham for some time. And I have some other roles in private sector, and I'm in public health here for like 11 years now. I do have my master's in public health, other credentials that state need, and I was a PhD candidate for a year with University of Maastricht in Netherlands, and that's my education background.
Well, welcome to Ashland. Any other select board members, comments or questions?
I just want to say welcome, Rajit. I did look over your resume and it's very extensive and very complete and thorough. I'm sure that Michael definitely selected the right person for our community. And I look forward to working with you, and I'm sure the community is as well. So welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Steve?
Yes, I had an opportunity to meet with you last night at the Board of Health meeting in preparation for the opening of the farmers market. So again, I just wanted to reiterate what I said last night. Rajit, welcome to Ashland, and looking forward to actually meeting you personally. And I know that you'll do good work for us. So
absolutely, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Rob or Brandy?
I'll just say welcome. It's good to meet you. And I think one of the things, you've got a pretty much full board of health. Chris is leaving, but I think he's being replaced. So that's nice. That's been a problem in the past. So you've got, I think, a pretty active group to work with there. So welcome.
Thank you.
Great. Brandy?
So I had the pleasure of meeting Rajiv briefly on Monday, his first day. I think he was there for 2 whole hours before I got to meet him. So so thank you for coming to Ashland. We're excited that you're here. And I was going to ask when your first Board of Health meeting was, but Steve answered that question. But it's a good group of people that you'll be working with, and our town hall staff is second to none. So I'm sure they've all welcomed you with open arms, and we look forward to working with you. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Well, Rajit, thank you for being on early. You were on our agenda for 8:15, so we were able to get you in. You are more than welcome to stay and watch the rest of the meeting. But if I'm sure you have other things that you probably want to be doing as you get ready to continue hitting the ground running here in Ashland. So thanks for being here. It was great meeting you, and I too look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully soon.
Absolutely. And thank you both, and I'm here again, reach out to me for anything I can do for,
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to go back to citizens' participation. We have a few minutes before our first public hearing at 7:15. If anyone would like to speak. Mark, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
And again, we meet again, Mr. Gupta, Mr. Rajay. Have a good night. I know that later on the agenda, COVID's going to be on the agenda. And I know that town manager is going to talk about that. But I have a recent thing to say that this house has been blessed by Sergeant Ed Berman. He's not on the call, but he called my house today. Tomorrow afternoon, here, will begin the shots, me and my dad.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah. So we finally got that after about a month or so of getting things going.
Good.
And it's Mr. Michael Herbert. I kind of want to keep you involved because I sent that first notice, probably hit your desk. When they started to open up for the vaccine sites and to get them out there. And everything else is going well, and I'm working. I have support now from outside help to get me through this. And Joseph, Mr. Mignani, this is going to be towards you, and you probably know that there was an article in the paper about your uncle Dave Mignani.
That's cousin. He's not that old.
Okay, cousins. And I can see he's still beating you in the hail slot there.
I'm glad he's beating me on that and anything else. That's quite all right.
So hope you have a good night, and tomorrow's the shots here, and we're gonna get healthy and get better. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mark. Anyone else? Citizens' participation. Diane?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Yolanda, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
I wondered if it might be possible, should questions arise during the Eversource update, if they could be entertained, because the whole thing is kind of Greek, which gives me the opportunity to also thank you for the ongoing work that the town is doing to work with on the siting board docket that the town succeeded in getting reopened. Long question.
Yeah, I would say that I'm going to let Michael determine if it's a question that we can answer.
Of
There's always the concern of making sure we don't put too much out in public, as it is still a legal action that we are taking. So, but yes, I'm open to, when we get to that, allowing questions.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I will have to say, though, I don't really have much of an update for this meeting. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that, so you don't wait and get completely disappointed.
Yeah, it's one of those items that we keep on our agenda so that if something does come up, we can talk about it and not have to worry about adding it last minute.
Understand. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
you're welcome. Okay. Anyone else for citizens participation? Seeing none, I'm going to bring us into the public hearing for the Verizon Cable Television franchise renewal. I'm sure that by the time I finish reading this, it will be 7:15 because it is quite lengthy what I need to read to get us into this. I apologize, I'm not looking right at the camera. There's a lot to look at. Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Ashland's public hearing on the Verizon's cable license renewal. As most of you are aware, I'm Yolanda Greaves, Chair of the Town Select Board, which is the cable licensing authority under Mass General Laws, Chapter 166A. With me tonight are my fellow Select Board members and also Bill August, the town's cable counsel. So he's joining us. Consistent with the governor's executive order on the holding of virtual remote access meetings, this is a virtual meeting accessible electronically through both video and audio participation. Persons attending through Zoom and who wish to speak should click the raise hand option showing in the Zoom's options bar. Copies of the legal notice of hearing are here entered into the record as ascertainment hearing exhibits 1 and 2. Before proceeding to accepting public comments, I note for background purposes that Verizon's cable television license expires on June 17th, 2023. However, federal law requires the holding of proceedings at this time to ascertain community cable needs. Therefore, the purpose of this hearing is to receive comments and testimony about what cable-related needs and interests are important to the public and stakeholders. We are open to accepting comments about cable-related matters, including but not limited to customer service, license administration, the town's needs regarding the local studio, community programming and public educational and governmental access, and maintaining support for the town's video origination capabilities. The process of ascertaining community cable needs will remain open until further notice. So this hearing is not in any way the only opportunity for the public and stakeholders to submit comments to the Select Board. Verizon has communicated to the town that it will not be in attendance for this hearing. However, Verizon has responded to notice of the hearing by offering to be otherwise available to work with the town, moving through the renewal process and negotiating a renewal license. We can now get started with public comments and hearing from the public and interested persons. We are going to ask that you limit your comments to 4 minutes, and please state your name, and if you have an affiliation, please note that. The legal notice has been posted. We have a list of people who are going to be speaking with us from Barbara Chisholm, who is our executive director at the cable station. I see Barbara is here. All I would ask is that if you are going to speak, please make sure you put your camera on and identify your name and your position. Barbara, would you like to start?
Thank you, Yolanda. I actually am going to let our people that I've requested to speak start, and
Okay.
I can speak at the end if you need me to.
Sure. Then I will go down the list and based on people who are here. I know Chief Alfano has been here first. He was one of the first people I saw. Chief Alfano, if you would go ahead and speak to the licensing. Good evening.
Good evening. I was deeply honored when Barbara asked me to speak tonight because I think I'm one of WACA's biggest fans in town. She did ask me to speak only about an hour, so you've limited me to 4 minutes, so I'll do the best I can. I have to say, one of my first official acts when I came to town about 2.5 years ago was they asked me to come to one of the countless shows that I've been on. I've been on with Steve Mitchell. I've been on with yourself, Yolanda. I've been on with Mike. I've been on with Joe Mignani. I think there's a chair with my name on it there. But I think one of the most effective means of communication within the town of Ashland, and maybe I'm a little old fashioned because I grew up with TV more so than computers. A huge proportion of Ashland's population still watches cable TV. Not always on the computer and not always on the internet. And the amount of coverage that we've seen on various shows, a lot of times, Barbara will give me the statistics. It's been staggering, particularly among the senior citizens. It's really a window for them into Ashland and the goings on. I'm very impressed with the staff at WACA. They're all top notch. Every time I do something with them, I learn something. They're all professionals. And I deal with professional TV crews on a weekly basis from all the major news channels. And let me tell you, you can be very proud of the staff at WACA. They cover everything from field events, like when we've had cars, hit by trains at the crossing. WACA was there. They're always in the field with us on special events, everything from parades to farmers markets to somber events such as our canine funerals that we've had. WACA is always there, and they're just outstanding to deal with. Public safety building project, which is one of the largest projects the town has going on. We couldn't have done that without the support from cable TV. All of their shows that open the doors of our fire station and police station to show the deficiencies firsthand to people that, especially during COVID, could not get out and see them. WACA is a window to the world for Ashland, and the personal touch is there. They're totally approachable. We even talked about doing a cooking show. Officials. So, I mean, they cover all the bases. So I can't give them my strongest endorsement. I really consider them a very valuable tool. And I'll close with the fact that they're so important to us that in our public safety building, we're actually going to wire up the emergency operations center in our training room so that WACA can actually do live broadcasts during emergencies from there, which will be huge information source. So I ask you to endorse their relicensing, their renewal, and I don't think Ashland could do any better than what we have right now.
Great. Thank you, Chiefs. Who's ever at WACA-TV, if you could mute yourselves so that the rest of us aren't hearing what's going on there in the studio. Thank you. Mark,
Madam Chair, could I ask for clarification?
Hold on one second, Rob. Sure. Mark, I see your hand, and I'll recognize you after everyone who has is on our list is speaking. Okay, just that you're aware. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, just so in reviewing the documents, it's all about Verizon's cable license renewal.
Mm-hmm.
Yet everybody's testifying to WACA-TV and kind of local community conduct. So I'm just kind of wondering what the, how are we looking at the Verizon cable license renewal as it relates to the quality of the community programming that WACA is providing?
Michael, you want to take that? I'll let you jump in.
Sure. So Rob, this is technically what's known as an ascertainment hearing, where we're spending tonight. We're talking about the community needs, which as we go through each speaker, we're going to find out that there's been a much greater need, an expanded need for Verizon services since the last time we renewed this license. So that's what this part is all about, is figuring out what the community actually needs from a cable licensee and what we wish for out of that.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So, because it's not like we're looking at, oh, we're not going to renew WACA, we're going to pick somebody else. That's not what we're talking about here.
That absolutely
correct.
Actually,
Bill August, who is our legal counsel on this. Bill, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Thank you. Great question, and Mike's answer was a good one. And just to expand on what Michael said, the license itself sets forth commitments for the number of local channels for WACA. The license sets forth, includes financial commitments to WACA. So if at the public hearing, we hear that WACA's needs have increased or decreased, that impacts what happens during the negotiations with Verizon regarding what to include in the renewal license. So just like any other local need, as we identify needs, it's great that you asked this question because it helps elaborate on the opening statement about why we're identifying needs. As we identify needs, the whole renewal statute, one word more than any other word is in the renewal law, it's needs. So we say, needs. So as we identify needs, that informs the selectmen, the licensing authority, about what goes into the negotiation for the next license.
Great. You're all
Thank
set with
you.
that? Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Bill. We're going to move down my list. The next is Jim Adams, the Ashland Superintendent of Schools. Jim, welcome to our meeting.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm using headphones. I've got a few things going on with other folks in the house tonight. So thanks. Thanks, Chief. Those were words that couldn't have been spoken any better in terms of the work that WACA does, and Barbara and her crew. I want to go back 12 years. This is how long I've been in the community now. And what has struck me the most is as we've ventured through the past 14, 15 months, the way how nimble and how ready, Barbara, her crew, and WACA was to meet our needs as a school community, whether it's obviously with the physical distancing and less folks in school. We think about our athletic programs and thinking about our events where they're live streaming now these events because families and parents can no longer come to the events, or we're not allowed to come to the events. Yet we worked with WACA to develop a programming where families could enjoy their kids' activities. And that's really important when we think about graduation, streaming to our families who can attend. As Chief said, a lot of our senior citizens within the community certainly rely on this forum, this medium, to get that information and to watch their grandchildren walk across the stage because they can't get there. I think about the development of our education foundation. And Barbara was, and her crew was intimate in developing not only programming, but coming and supporting all of the good things we're doing in our school system, and developing and producing a document or a video that we can share with the community. These are all things that we can't do from a financial resource within our school setting. I saw Paul Bowden jump on here with his person, and the work that they do. I call them and text them at any moment and ask, hey, you know what, we've got something going on. Are you willing to come out and do this? And without question, without fail, they are constantly supporting the school system and want to do more. And, as Chief has said, I certainly go, and sit with you, Yolanda. Well, we used to sit in person, but more recently, just
we'll get back there.
We'll get there. But hosting and discussing the really positive things about our community and about schools specifically. And to me, without this, without WACA, without this forum, we're doing a disservice to our entire community. We're not able to share what's going on within the school system specifically. So I too cannot, highly endorse enough the renewal of the license and the ascertainment of what WACA means to the Ashland Public Schools and the Ashland community.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for that. Moving down my list, the next person I see on my screen who's on my list is Michael Herbert, our town manager.
All right. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Michael Herbert. I'm the town manager here, and I've had a unique opportunity to experience WACA's helpfulness and the services that they've offered here. I've been able to view it from, behind the curtain, if you will. And I tell you, nothing has really demonstrated the importance of a good cable provider and a good cable station such as WACA, like this pandemic. In essentially 2 weeks, we went from being a government that really met in person and only in person to a completely remote organization, again, in the span of 2 weeks. And, what we found also was that there were deficiencies in our infrastructure that kept us from meeting our goals and what we wanted to try to achieve. Again, that's not on WACA. It was just an infrastructure issue. Just for a couple examples, we now have multiple committees, more committees than we had the prior time we went through this licensing process. And we typically have multiple meetings per night, but we're also limited in what we can carry and what we can cover just because of the infrastructure. So it'd be great to see Verizon help us expand that infrastructure. Again, from even just an emergency management standpoint, WACA was critical in helping to get a lot of information out, a plethora of different things that we needed to get out to the community, whether it was related to, well, it was all related to COVID, but the virus itself, who's being affected, what we were doing as a community to help offset some of the impacts of COVID, what the schools were doing to help, again, offset the impacts of COVID as well. WACA was integral in helping us get the word out and do that. So in closing, I just want to reiterate just how important WACA is to our community and our government. And I hope we can find a way to expand their capabilities in the future.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Next, Josh Wixer from our high school.
Hello. My name is Josh Wixer, and I'm a resident here in Ashland, and I'm also a math teacher at the high school, as well as the student council advisor, and I'm here to mostly speak in that capacity. This has been a very challenging year, obviously, and the student council at the high school faced the possibility of losing all of our traditional events this year due to COVID. With some creativity, though, on the part of the kids and a whole lot of assistance from WACA-TV, we were able to continue many of our annual traditions. At the start of COVID, WACA helped us run a virtual bingo night, and this past December, they helped us run a game show event. In both cases, airing the Zoom feed of both of these events to the town. With other events, though, WACA helped considerably with a lot of behind-the-scenes technical work for us. When we couldn't hold an in-person homecoming rally, for example, WACA helped us put together a virtual one, including airing updates from the sports teams and after-school clubs, and even seamlessly editing videos to create several virtual relay races. When faced with the prospect of losing our annual Clocker Idol tradition, our American Idol spinoff, I guess, WACA stepped in and worked with us to create a program that included a mix of taped performances and live commentary through Zoom judges. And in such a challenging year, WACA was really always there to help us to continue providing events to bring the school and the town community together, even though we really had to come together at a distance. In a normal year, WACA is an integral part of the work we do as well, enabling us to share school-based events with the community at large that they otherwise wouldn't see. Over the years, they've filmed too many pep rallies to count, as well as other events the public would otherwise have no idea about, like filming the students at our financial reality fair, giving the public a glimpse into this event designed for graduating. The student councils also made numerous appearances on WACA's news program around the clock, and they've used those appearances to share updates with the community and give them a sense of behind the scenes work done by the student leaders at the high school. Personally, as a resident, I've tuned into many meetings, both live and when they're replayed on WACA, and just really appreciate how WACA makes it easy to learn what's going on in town. I would like to, if possible, just give a quick shout out to 4 people at WACA for everything they've done for the student council. Thank you to Barbara Chisholm for all of your coordinating efforts and for always being willing to work with us no matter what idea we've come up with. Thank you, Yolanda Greaves, for always inviting the student council board to join you on Around the Clock and for always making the students just feel at ease with your to the point but comfortable interview style. And thank you to Connor Donovan and Allison Rose for all their tireless efforts running our events, doing all the behind the scenes work to make everything as professional as possible. And I think that's really a big part of WACA. It's not just showing videos, it's really producing them in a very professional way. WACA has been a huge bridge between the school community and the community at large, and I'm very grateful, and the students are very grateful for everything they've done and will continue to do for us. So thank you very much for WACA.
Great, thank you very, very much. Next, Arthur Bergeron.
Hi, I'm Art Bergeron. I have become involved with WACA because I do a show with Steve Mitchell that is really focused on talking to elders in the community. It's called Frank and Mary in Ashland. I always joke that actually Steve really does the show. I keep time and provide the humorous relief sometimes. But we've been doing these shows now for quite a while, and I also do a lot of work at the senior center, and therefore interact with a lot of the seniors in Ashland. And I also do shows in like 9 other communities, so I'm very kind of aware of how Ashland compares and the great work that Barbara Chisholm does. And I'm aware of the fact that Barbara is actually many of you know, on the board of directors of the national organization. She's really, she's a real force. And I guess I would just make a couple of observations. First of all, I think that in terms of increased need, I mean, the increased need is kind of inversely related to the shrinking of the print media, in that increasingly the cable station is becoming and will become the only way that citizens will not only be able to see what's going on without actually showing up at these meetings, but actually to hear some pros and cons, even outside of the context of a meeting, because you no longer have reporters going to meetings and interviewing people and really hearing pros and cons. So in terms of the kind of the essence of the community, it just becomes automatically more important as print media continues to evaporate, and there's just no reason that's not going to stop. I guess I just wanted to mention a couple of other things. I have a kind of to some extent, a different perspective on this, because I also am on the cable board in another community in Nantucket. I'm actually on the cable board of NCTV, which is Nantucket Community Television. And so we find ourselves looking a lot at what's happening over the next 10 years. We just renegotiated our cable license last year. And we're really driven by what we assume will be a continuing cutting of the cable by a lot of households, which means that revenue from that source is going to decrease, which means that unless that either ultimately program is going to decrease, or we're going to need to find other sources in terms of having shows that are sponsored shows or other players that want to be involved. With that in mind, I would just suggest that in terms of the negotiations, one real piece of this needs to be having an HD or high definition channels, because people are not going to watch. They're just not going to watch unless the quality is there. A second thing that I would suggest would be to be making it specifically part of your negotiations to be getting viewership data from the cable provider. The cable provider refuses to provide viewership data in general, in Ashland, in other communities. There is no legal reason for that. It's a business decision by them. I know that your negotiating person will tell you this. But that data is going to be key over the next 10 years in terms of your trying to expand viewership and encouraging sponsored shows. Because if I want to be a sponsor of it, if I'm being asked to be a sponsor of a show, my first question is going to be, how many people are watching the show? If you don't have that information, it's impossible for you to kind of have that conversation in order to expand your own viewership, right? So I think it's a wonderful station. It deserves to be supported. I know that its viewership, I think that their sense is the viewership was up a lot this year.
Yeah.
But in the long run, I think these other tools would really help in terms of the long-term viability of the station, and from the government's perspective, in terms of keeping the station from 5 years from now, 10 years from now, basically having to come back to the government and look for something from town meeting or look for something from the budget in order to supplement the station. So I think it's in the interest of the selectmen, it's in the interest of everybody to be seeing if you can expand that viewership and therefore the revenue stream. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Art. Appreciate that. Next, we are going to go to Rob Silver, who's one of our sports announcers at WACA-TV. Rob?
All right. Everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. So I want to thank the Select Board and Mr. August for allowing me to speak for a few hours tonight. Mr. Chief
Minutes,
Alfano, that
Rob,
was,
minutes.
I had that written down and
I
then you
know you
stole my
did.
thunder. Anyways, I was told I was going first. It was 2 of my minutes. But anyways, no, thank you. I've been with WACA-TV for 5.5 years now, volunteering in various capacities, primarily covering the high school sports. And I've seen how our coverage has made a positive impression on the Ashland community. We often work with young adults that have an interest in pursuing a career in communications, either in front of the camera through broadcasting or behind the camera, the filming. My son Jake worked for WACA for 4 years before going on to Springfield College to pursue his dreams. And currently, freshman Chase Abrams has done work both on the mic with me on volleyball and basketball and behind the camera as he looks to possibly follow a career in communications and broadcasting and some aspect of the field. But during COVID, while sports was one of the few outlets the kids had to socialize, oftentimes fans weren't allowed or limited in capacity. But we at WACA had the privilege of broadcasting soccer. We did field hockey, volleyball, basketball, hockey, swimming. We did the football. We even did some golf. We did track. And even I think they squeezed in a skiing event, not always live, but we were able to, film these kids so that not only the other Ashland students, but their parents, their grandparents, their friends, alumni, and the opposing teams and their fans could experience the thrills of live competition of all these dedicated athletes. And over the years, I've often had many students come up to me before the game or after a game and say, thank you for what you do. It really means a lot. Those positive comments you made about a nice play I did or a nickname or whatever it is. And they really appreciate it. They really get into it. I've had countless numbers of parents come up to me and thank me for, what we do. And, I do it because I love it. It's fun for me. But, the parents telling me that, we tape the game and we'll watch it as a family later in the week. So, these people, they're really involved in it. And it's really nice to hear those things, that it does make an impact. And as a crew, as Mr. Bergeron said, and a few others, we take a lot of pride in doing this. And I know how hard everyone works at it, including my broadcast partners, Bob Thacker, who's been doing this for 30 some odd years, and Josh Abrams, his son Chase, but the crew, Connor Donovan, Tom Hamilton, Nick Cunningham, Mackie Kotob, Allison Rose, and there's probably a couple that I've forgotten, and I apologize for that. We do take a lot of pride in it, and we'll do whatever we can to help bring this product to the community. In the fall, we're hoping to launch a sports program on a monthly basis where we'll review the ongoing high school sports programs, talk with maybe a coach or a few of the players, athletic director, whoever's involved. And also not just at the high school level, but maybe somehow incorporate, the middle school sports or even the toddlers that are playing t-ball, and just try and get everybody from the ground level involved and take a bigger interest in the sports and just bring the community together. So I hope WACA continues to receive the needed funding so we can continue to entertain and enrich the lives of the Ashland community, not just in this zip code, but now with social media all over the globe. And just contrary to everybody's belief, this was not sponsored by Marathon Deli or Technoplex Flexibles. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Mark, if you can keep it brief, because we do need to wrap up before we head to our next appointment.
Well, Derek, I'll cut to the shortcut then. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Bill August. There's got to be negotiations at the table before the broadcast gets through cable fiber. And you have to negotiate through the table with all the sponsors and all the other members to understand that to get it through, you need a license to negotiate for. Isn't that right, Mr. August? I'm mute. I'm mute.
Bill, you're still muted. There you go.
Yes, it's a negotiation process, but very public and transparent. And very with broad participation. And I'm glad you mentioned negotiation, because although there are folks who are negotiating on behalf of the town, we are only selectmen. We can't decide anything or negotiate anything until everything we do is always subject to approval. That's one of the ground rules that we emphasize repeatedly to Verizon and Comcast, so that anything that's discussed is subject to taking it back. We work for the licensing authority, the selectmen.
Great.
Now, Mr. August, back through the chairman, back to you. You mentioned Comcast.
Mark?
No, he's going to understand. No, let me go. You answered for me.
Hold on.
I know Mark from way back when. We're friends. Hi, Mark.
Yes.
I understand.
Right.
Mark
and I are great. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. There's never been finished. Thank you, Mr. August. I was there with the Comcast of Comcast 2 from Time Warner. So we know before the broadcast, the cable gets on air, there's got to be that negotiation. Through you, Mr. August, how well do you know that when I was on the cable contract committee, how did we work together? That's the idea I want to ask you to how it is, because I know it's changed. And I know there's different members and all that, but has it really changed from that aspect as we both know it? That's it.
We're just starting the process, so there's no basis yet. We're literally at the beginning this time around.
And so we worked together on that first contract. So I just want to make sure that me and you know each other.
The basic procedures are the same. Like the law says, you identify needs. That's phase one.
And so that's what this is.
Identifying needs.
Yep. Okay.
And then
yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So that's we're parallel to where we were in the past in terms of the procedure.
So what this is, Mr. Bill August, it's good to see each other together, even though it's on a call.
No, it's great. I'm so glad to see you, and you're looking great, and it's great.
And we have communicated and known each other for what there is to talk about.
Right.
Thank you. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Yes, I remember hearing that you were part of that, Mark. So thank you for that work. I am going to ask, hold on a second, Joe, that we pause this. I need to open the other public hearing because that has a time of 7:45. We'll open that public hearing, put it on a pause, and then finish this up, what we need to do. So
that was going to be my reminder.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This notice is hereby given that the Select Board will be conducting a hearing regarding an application for a livery license for Castellae Transportation LLC, 19 Molehill Drive, Ashland, Mass. 01721. A public hearing will be held on the matter on Wednesday, May 5th, 2021 at 7:45 p.m. Parties wishing to be heard on this matter are invited to attend the public hearing by logging into the Zoom meeting. Zoom information can be found on the Town of Ashland website at ashlandmass.com. Interested parties who are unable to attend the hearing may submit written comments to the Select Board's office, Town Hall 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass, or by emailing Susan Roby at sroby@ashlandmass.com. If I can get a motion to pause the public hearing for Castellae until we finish the cable.
So moved.
And a second, please. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brandy. Let's do a roll call vote. Kinsman.
Aye.
Mignani.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
Shearer.
Aye.
And Greaves. Aye. So we are pausing that. Castellae family, thank you for coming on. We are pausing. We're just waiting. We need to finish up the other hearing that we were doing, and then we'll come back to yours. Thank you for your patience. Great. Okay, so going back to the cable, we also received a number of written comments that was in our packet. So hopefully everyone has had the opportunity to see those. And then Barbara, Barbara had asked that I speak, but I think everyone else has spoken so eloquently that I don't really need to add. I think the benefit of WACA-TV has been well addressed. So Barbara, I'm going to let you finish up, and then Michael, if you let us know what else we need to do as part of this hearing. But Barbara, go ahead.
Thank you, Yolanda. I just want to say thank you to everybody that has spoken tonight on our behalf. We at WACA love what we do. We love being a part of the community. We love giving back to the community. We want to continue doing what we're doing, and we need the funding to bring to you what we've been doing and more. So I ask for, Verizon and for all your support when you go to negotiate this next license. And again, thank you to the people that spoke here tonight. And I want to thank all the people that wrote in letters of testimony to us. Two of them being our state senator and our state representative. So thank you all. You don't know what it means to me for all your support. I really appreciate that.
Great.
I have one brief procedural comment.
Okay, go ahead, Bill, and then Joe.
I'm having a hard time finding the raise hand icon, so I'm just doing.
That's okay. That's fine, Bill.
I apologize.
Not a problem.
Chairman Greaves just referenced some documents, letters of support that were entered or submitted. And it's common to enter them into the hearing record as hearing exhibits.
Okay.
So I just want to flag that. So then, after the hearing, I will follow up with Manager Michael Herbert about those exhibits and whether it's a good idea or not a good idea to transmit them to Verizon at this point to stay on their radar screen. They like that because it gives their government relations people something to bring back to corporate to show which towns are active. And so if you could enter those as exhibits, then I think that is a good thing to do.
Okay, I can read them off if that would be helpful.
Yeah, just
So
the date and the sender, not the whole
Sure.
thing, right?
Sure. To enter into exhibit on May 4th, we got a letter of support from Makita Keegan, who is the Vice President of the Board of Directors on WACA-TV. On April 29th, we got a letter of support from Stephen Marks, who is the Athletic Director at the Ashland High School. On April 28th, we got a letter of support from Chief Keith Roby and Captain Lynn Morgan from our fire department. We also I'm not seeing a date from our state rep, Jack Patrick Lewis, in support. We got a letter in support on May 2nd from Tina Kingsbury, who is from the Federated Church of Ashland. We got a very lengthy letter of support from Joe White, dated, no date, from Ashland Community Theater and the work that he has done. On May 3rd, we got a letter of support from Josh Abrams, who is the dad of one of our reporters. April 29th, we got a letter of support from Claudia and Ed Rose in their support. Of course, we also got the letter from Karen Spilka, our state senator. And Mary Ellen Giambetti sent us a letter of support on April 1st for the work that she does and the program that she does. So those are all letters that will be admitted into evidence as part of this hearing.
Right. So I will maintain as counsel to the town an exhibits file, and the town should too. So we'll both have backup on exhibits, the two legal advertisements. The only other thing I want to say is thank you to Mike Herbert and Susan Roby and Diane. They could not have been more responsive in getting the advertisements and the links and the whatnot. At every turn, they were just super organized and responsive. So thank you, everybody.
You are welcome. And I would say to viewers, if you support and want to keep WACA TV supporting what they do, you are more than welcome to continue to submit letters of support, and they can go to sroby@ashlandmass.com. Michael and/or Bill, we had a budget in our packet. Is there something we need to do with that budget that was presented?
No, that's
Okay.
still in a draft form.
Okay, great.
That's a work product that council is going to look at further. So it's not really, in my opinion, it's being developed, it's kind of evidencing the response to a request to further develop that. So it's still work product.
Okay. And from the way I read this, we're not closing this public hearing yet. Is that correct?
Well, we're not closing the ascertainment process.
Okay.
We're leaving open the possibility of future hearings. We can close this particular hearing, reserving the right to have additional hearings as part of the Federal Cable Act ascertainment process, which can include hearings and other information gathering activity.
Great. If I can have a motion.
Can I, before you do that, Madam
Yep,
Chair? can I ask
sure,
just a so is the budget going to be part of the negotiations that are upcoming with Verizon? Is that one of the?
It can be used for that. It can be, and there are different forms of presentation. It might not be that document. It might be another document.
I guess I'm just wondering why.
How you prepare for the negotiations to figure out
Okay. So that's part of what
that
we'll
presentation. We haven't reached that point yet.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Brandy?
So thank you very much. Listening to all the testimony, it's amazing the impact that WACA has had on all of our lives. So thank you to Barbara and the crew at WACA. I did have a question. I know this is very specific to Verizon, although it's this ascertainment of needs. I assume that there's a similar process that we would go through with Comcast as far as negotiations, although it's probably separate. Is that correct?
It's separate, and it's on a separate timetable because it's dependent on the expiration date. Their expiration dates are at different times. So the ascertainment starts under federal law 36 months before the expiration date. So since they have different expiration dates, the ascertainment phases are at different times.
And then just a follow-up question, as far as this is my first time going through this cable renewal process, how frequently do we go through this? Is it?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that, because that question brings out something that's really important for everyone to know about. The initial licenses from Verizon were 10 and 15 years long. I believe Ashland's was
15.
a 15er. Initial licenses can be up to 15. Under state law, renewal licenses can only be up to 10. But what's changed is about 5 years ago, Verizon has refused absolutely to sign a single renewal license of a duration of greater than 5 years. So that's an answer to, because of the changing technology, and they say it's too risky to get locked in. They will say on the public record under oath, they have not signed a single license longer. And I've asked them that because the town, it's a hassle for the, but that relates to your question, because if they expire every 5 years, it's a hassle. You have to do the ascertainment and the renewal every 5 years instead of every 10 years or every 15 years. I hope that answers your question.
That does.
But I'm glad you asked it, because people think, well, why is this just the same as the last time? There have been a lot of changes in the law and in the operational and licensing practices of Verizon. So there are some differences.
Okay, thanks. And just one more quick question, and sorry, Joe.
Including getting an HD PEG channel, which someone asked about. That's now like we've gotten those in the last 2 or 3 years in the Verizon renewals. So that was a good point, and we're on it. We're on the case on that.
That's great. I just have one more quick question. And as far as like next steps, I know you said that this doesn't expire until 2023, at what point does this come back to us for a vote and a decision?
Right. Let's see. It will come back to like usually for a final decision and a vote, because there has to be an ascertainment public hearing, and then there has to be another public hearing towards the end of the process once there's a negotiated document that's put forward by Verizon as to vote. That tends to happen in the last 6 months of the 3-year window. It sometimes happens earlier as a result of a technicality of the federal cable law. And I'm sorry for bringing this up, but the federal cable law has 2 completely different procedures. It has a formal process where 5 months prior to expiration, there's a deadline, you can issue an RFP to the incumbent. And so if we were to do the formal process and issue an RFP, which is a big production, we'd come back to you for approval of this RFP specifications. That's a formal document to them. We can do it up to 5 months before. So we could come back to you with an RFP presentation. What we try to do, and 95% of towns do, is take a more cost-effective route and use what's called informal renewal. The Cable Act has 2 side-by-side sections, recognizing that a lot of towns in the country aren't going to go out and do an RFP. They say the town can at any time have informal negotiations as long as they have a public hearing for ascertainment and at the end, and see if they can come to an agreement. So if we can come to an informally negotiated agreement, we don't have to come to you with a draft RFP. So our coming to you for approvals will also depend on whether the informal process looks mutually beneficial or not. And that impacts how and when we come back to you about the RFP. Now, separate from coming back to you for any final approvals, I have to work closely with the town along the way, with Mike, Herbert, and letting him know if we're making progress and we're in the ballpark and doing as well as other communities. So you'll be knowing that, and that can be brought through Michael back to the selectmen for some, just brief updates, some status reports along the way.
So Bill, thank you for that. But Brandy, did your question get answered?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you very
great.
much. I appreciate it.
Joe, did you have any other questions or comments?
A couple of one quick question and then a quick comment. Bill, this same process will be done with Comcast, I'm assuming, at some point in time?
Yes.
Because their budget contract should be up just about the same time, roughly. Is that accurate to say?
I have to look at the Comcast expires July
It's 2020.
12th, 24.
Oh, 24.
So it's
okay.
about a year later, but your point is well taken. We can recycle our ascertainment information here and literally copy it and enter it into the, we'll do some updating, but yes, that's a very common thing to do when they're close in time. We may have to generate after this, as part of ascertainment findings. I should have mentioned, I completely forgot to mention to Brandy Kinsman's question, the optimal process includes reducing our findings and ascertainment into some ascertainment findings adopted by the selectmen, stating what our key needs are. It doesn't have to be fancy. Some of towns will do a 3-page ascertainment report. Some will do a 200. They come in a lot of flavors, but we have maximum strength if we adopt some findings of need adopted by the selectmen, because that's what the company cares about, is the selectmen's findings. They don't care about Bill August's needs. They like us, they like WACA, but they want to know what the selectmen identify as needs. So we like to reduce it into something adopted by the selectmen.
Great. Joe, anything else? Or hold
just-
on, Rob. Go ahead, Joe.
Just a quick comment, because I know we're running late, Madam Chair.
Yep.
I've been with WACA since they were an Acorn They are now in Oak Tree. They started at 290 Elliott Street. If memory serves me right, we had to walk down a long corridor to get into their cable studio in the far end of a building. Now they have this beautiful on-site cable station available for all of us to use. So they've come a long way. And through that time period, they have helped Ashland enormously through many, many things and provided a lot of entertainment, a lot of good feedback for the residents and their activities. Ashland Days, summer concerts, farmers market, just to name a few. So all these things come into play. And again, thank you to the entire crew down there for doing what you've done all over these years on a very limited budget. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll be real quick, but
Go ahead, Rob.
I don't know protocol, but I just saw that from social media, Peter Stone, we have a celebrity in the house, 50 years of firefighter paramedic service.
Now,
So-
Rob, we're about to celebrate him, but we got to do it in order.
I didn't
so
know
you
that.
gotta
I
hold
didn't-
on.
See, I didn't get the agenda, but I
That's
had
why
to sign
he's
off.
here.
But
But we have to wrap this up so we can do
Thank
our
you.
hearing and then we can celebrate.
see, I don't know anything about it. I'll never be invited back. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was waiting, asking, Bill had made a statement and I was asking for a motion for that statement and then we got interrupted.
And I thought you were telling me to hold on, but you meant the other Rob, so that's good.
Yes, the other Rob. Sorry, Rob, sure. I believe the motion, what I was looking for was to basically allow us to continue this hearing as necessary, closing this one tonight, but knowing that we may have to bring something back. That is a very shortened version of the motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Second?
Second.
Second from Rob. We'll do a roll call vote. Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Hi.
Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves. Aye. Thank you. Michael, if that is all we need to do, Bill, if that is all we need to do, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will be continuing to review this. Again, public, if you are watching and you want to add a letter of support to this finding hearing, please do that. Great. Bill, thank you for being here. I want to thank everyone who spoke in favor of WACA-TV. It is a true gem for our community.
Thank you, Yolanda.
Thank you. If I can have a motion to reopen the hearing for, hold on, I got to get down to it, sorry, for Castellae Transportation.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brandy. Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Hi.
Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves. Aye. I'm officially opening this hearing. Again, the information was in our packet. Susan, if you could take us through, making sure we have everything we need first. You can just shake your head. We have all the,
You do have everything.
great. Then I'm going to open this up. I'm going to ask for Junior Castellae. Go ahead and unmute yourself and let's start by hearing from you about the request for this license. And welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. To meet you for the first time. So
Yes,
like more than 10 years in the town.
that's okay.
It's that I requested the permit for to be recognized in the town as a livery, but the business been exists like 7 years because I used to do the business in the Commonwealth, like Boston area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and now I need to have that permit because of the Commonwealth. Now the contract I'm going to do with them, they want me to have that permit from Ashland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you've been in business for a while and this hearing is just to get the licensing that is required through Ashland.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Is there anyone else here? And I know we have a lot of people on and thank you all for your patience. Peter, thank you for your patience. Anyone else here to speak in favor of the granting of this livery license? Not seeing any hands or faces saying yes or no. Is there anyone here to speak against the granting of this livery license? Again, not seeing any hands or faces saying yes. Select Board, I'm going to open it up to questions from all of you. Does anyone have questions for Mr. Castellae regarding this request for a license?
I just have one question, Madam Chair, to Susan. Had we received any emails or correspondence via electronic correspondence regarding this matter?
We have not.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. And yet another question, I'm sorry. You mentioned that your business was out of Boston, but now Boston is requiring you to have a license out of Ashland as well. Is that what I understood? Or did I misunderstand that?
Because of my address, I have a home, I do call that a home office. My home office is in Ashland.
Okay,
So because of the address, so they want me to get the permit from the town so they can grant me the certification. So yeah.
so is a lot of your work or a lot of your livery business in the Metro West area, or is it in Boston proper?
It will be in the Metro West area because right now I'm in the contract with Mart.
Okay,
Most of my business will be in the Metro West.
okay, thank you.
Good. Any other, Steve, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Castellae. Just a quick question. Your vehicles will be garaged in what location?
In my driveway.
In your driveway.
Yeah.
And have your vehicles, so this will be new. In other words, your vehicles have been located elsewhere?
If they, pardon me, can you repeat for me, please?
Prior, so you're applying for a livery license right now, which would include the ability to house and locate your vehicles at your home.
Mm-hmm.
And my question goes to where have they been prior to your application?
Oh, okay. The business is growing now. Before, I used to have only one car.
Okay.
So now I only have 3.
Okay,
So, yeah.
good. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else questions? Comments? No? If I can have
I do.
oh, go ahead,
Yolanda,
Rob.
just so just in terms of having 3 vehicles at your home, is that going to fit in with the quality of the community or the the surrounding area? I'm trying to remember what that stretch of Molehill Drive looks like, but is that going to create are these cars going to be coming and going at all sorts of hours and creating disturbance in a residential area? What?
I don't think so, because of it's only 3 cars and the activities is not, the dispatch is not gonna be in the area. It's the drivers, they're gonna just get the car from my house, and sometimes they might not have the car. They might have the car with them in their house sometimes. So I don't think so it's gonna be a problem. And my driveway, it's the capacity of my driveway. It's kind of like 6 cars. So I'm not gonna park any car on the street.
Okay. All right, that sounds, and so just a word that if we start getting complaints, then we're going to so you want to do it so you're not making noise or creating a disturbance or bothering the neighbors or parking on. So as long as you are able to operate that way, we can avoid getting complaints, and that would be best for everyone. So
yeah, I've been around this area, so great neighborhood. They don't have any issue with me.
Great.
After like 11 years, so I don't think so I'm gonna create them trouble.
And fortunately, in looking at information, you are at the very end of a dead end street, and
exactly.
Great.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, if I can get a motion to close the hearing, please.
So moved.
If I can get a second.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brandy. Kinsman, vote to close the hearing.
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves. Aye. Thank you. So the hearing is now officially closed. Based on what we heard, is there any other discussion regarding this? And if there is not, if I can get a motion to approve the livery license for Castellae Transportation LLC located at Molehill Drive for 3 vehicles.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. So Joe, will take Joe's motion and a second from Rob. Thank you. Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves. Aye. Thank you. Mr. Castellae, you have a livery license from Ashland. Make sure you touch base with Susan Roby to get any other required paperwork that you need. Good luck with your continued business. It was nice meeting you this way. Hopefully at some point this summer, we can meet you in person.
Thank you so much. I really
You are-
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck and
Good luck.
thanks for
luck.
doing business
luck.
in Ashland.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
a
I
little
can-
bit. Did you have a
I can
question?
leave?
Yes, you are all set,
can
unless you
leave.
want to stay for our celebration of firefighter Stone, but you're all set. You can sign off.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Have a good
you.
one.
Have a good night.
Okay.
A little late, but thank you all for your patience. It's always tough when you try to make your agenda and something takes longer than you expect. Welcome to Peter Stone, our retiring firefighter. Chief Roby, thank you for being here. And I'm seeing a lot of names and faces of Ashland firefighters and police and people who are here to celebrate this retirement. Michael, I'll start with you as to the discussion of this retirement.
Absolutely. So last week, firefighter Peter Stone ended his career in the fire service, had his last shift. This is after 50 years as a firefighter and a paramedic, 35 of those in Ashland. I can tell you he's not going willingly. One of those situations where due to age circumstances, sorry, Peter, I just got to put it out there. He unfortunately has to retire. I'll tell you what, I don't care if he's 70 years old, he's still somebody that I would want running into a burning building to get me if something ever happened. He is, when you think of a firefighter, Peter comes to mind and just projects that image, and he loves the fire service. He loves the people that he works with. He loves the community. And so we're sad to see him go. Obviously, you hate to lose good people, and we are definitely losing a good one in Peter. Heath Roby, you can probably expand on that a bit.
Yeah. So Peter's been with us 35 years. He was a member of the district tech team for many years, one of the founding members of that. He's also been very strong in our EMS. When we went from the basics to intermediates, he was in the first group of people to get certified there. When we went to paramedic level, again, he was one of the first guys to step up and say, let's go to paramedic, became a paramedic with the first group. I think we're all going to miss him. I know he's got a tough time walking out that door. We had a pretty good send off for him on Saturday morning. So we all wish him well.
Great. Are there any other, I'm going to open it up a little bit. I don't always do this. Lynn or any of the other firefighters who have worked with Peter who would like to say anything, and then I'll open it up to our board.
I just want to reiterate what the chief said and wish Peter the very best. He's already missed. We miss you already, Pete. Want to wish you the very best in your retirement. And don't be a stranger.
Anybody else? Just unmute or raise your hand and wave at me. And okay, if not, I'm going to open it up to our select board comments, and then I'll read our proclamation. Steve, go ahead.
Good. So congratulations, Peter, on your retirement. You may not be going willingly. I'm sure that you'll get used to retirement as you move forward. But really, thank you from a grateful community for your 35 years here in Ashland. And you know, it's just incredible that level of commitment and service. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pete, we go back away, the blue and red team, for many, many years. We've seen a lot of good things. We've gone to a lot of crazy calls, a lot of calls that affected us along the way. But there was one call just recently. You came to my home. And I just want to thank you, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here today. I would not be here today. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, be honest with you. But thank you very much.
Thank you
You're a
so
true
much.
friend, you're a true professional. And everybody that was at that call were just fantastic. And again, that last call to me was the most important call ever. And I'm glad you were there. Thank you, Peter.
Well, good to see you doing well, Joe.
Yeah, we're doing well.
That's good.
And you just take care of yourself and enjoy your extra time. Chase
Thank
your
you.
wife around the house.
Rob or Brandy?
Sure, it's tough to follow in Joe. He, you know.
Sorry, I wanted to go last, but.
So, you know, 50 years, that's really an accomplishment in a heavy, physically demanding job. So you must have some secrets you can let people know about. But, you know, so thank you very much for your service. I listened with interest to the chief's discussion of you pushing the paramedic role. And I think, you know, as, you know, Joe kind of alluded to, that, you know, I consider, of course, this town performs many essential services, but probably one of the foremost ones is the paramedic role and the immediate medical assistance. So thank you for your leadership in that, and to all the other members of the department for that. And congratulations. And I work with your ex-wife, and she says you're a good guy. So if your ex-wife says you're a good guy, you must be a good guy. So
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Brandy?
I just want to add my congratulations and thanks on behalf of our community. 35 years in Ashland and 50 years of service. It's quite an accomplishment, and I just wanted to wish you well in retirement, and thank you for everything that you've done for Ashland, and for keeping Joe with us too, because we like him too. So thank you very much, and enjoy a little bit of downtime.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure if you need some advice on retirement, I think both Steve and Joe could give you some pointers. They both seem to both really be enjoying retirement. So, though they do a lot, so maybe they're not. But as the select board, we have a citation that I'd like to read. The actual citation is sitting at Town Hall for you with one of our BOS coins. And if you need to know what that is, Steve will fill you in after I read the proclamation. This is a select board proclamation. I don't always enjoy doing these for retirements, but I do enjoy getting to acknowledge the work that someone has done for Ashland. So Peter and the rest of our fire staff who are here, select board proclamation. Whereas Peter Stone has been a valued and dedicated member of the Ashland Fire Department for more than 35 years and a total of 50 years in the fire service. And whereas Peter was appointed a permanent member of the department in 1986, steadily progressing as the needs of the community changed and the level of services increased. And whereas Peter was an intricate part of the Ashland fielding the first ever fully licensed advanced life support ambulance in the Metro West area in the year 2000, and one of the first regional technical rescue teams in the Commonwealth. And whereas Peter's 5 decades of commitment to public service is astounding, and during his time in Ashland, he has worked for Chief Frank Carianis, Chief Michael Brogan, Acting Chief Robert Cleveland, Chief William Key, Chief Scott Boothby, and Chief Keith Roby. And whereas Peter has had a long and distinguished career with the fire service and has always gone above and beyond to make sure that he provides the best service possible to the residents of Ashland. And now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Ashland, do hereby proclaim Saturday, May 8th, 2021 as Peter Stone Day. We urge all residents to make known their appreciation for his devotion to the town of Ashland. We wish him good health and good fortune. Peter, congratulations. Thank you for all you have done for Ashland and for Ashland's residents. A lot has been said already for you tonight, so I'm not going to add too much more, except that I really appreciate what you have done for Ashland. I know you will be missed. I can tell by the number of firefighters that are here that you were well respected, and I know you were well respected within our department. So thank you for all you've done. I hope you keep coming back and visiting, and enjoy your retirement.
Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
They're a great bunch of guys down there. Great bunch of guys at both the police and fire, and they make it all work. All the guys together. It's all teamwork. And Ashland's a great town to work in. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Good luck. Thank
Pete.
you all for
Congrats,
being
Peter.
here.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for everybody showing up tonight. Thank you, guys.
Yes, really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
the
you.
support.
And again, thank you for what you did and what you continue to do.
Great. Thank you all. We are going to move on in our agenda. We're going to move into our consent agenda. We've already done the introduction of Rajit Gupta, our new health director. So in our consent agenda, accept the regular session minutes for April 7th, 2021 and April 21st, 2021. Notification of the manager's appointment of Natalia Cordero as a full-time police officer. Notification of the town manager's appointment of Alan Flower, DPW light equipment operator, and request to waive the 15-day waiting period so he can start on May 10th, 2021. Accept the request for a one-day license for 1634 Meadery and Aaron Knapp Sellers to operate at the farmer's market on June 12th, 19th, 26th, July 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, 31st, August 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th, September 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th, October 2nd and 9th from 9 a.m. to 1. We have pulled out the acceptance of the MOBD pilot program grant. If I can have a motion, please, to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Great. We'll do a roll call vote. Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves, aye, and that passes 5-0. Thank you very much. So we've pulled out the acceptance of the MOBD pilot program grant. Michael, if you could talk to that, and then what else we need to do with that this evening, please.
Sure. So as part of this collaborative, we need to develop a memorandum of agreement, which actually is technically an intermunicipal agreement that outlines the terms and the conditions and the stipulations of our agreement. As the town of Ashland is the lead community on this, we receive a fee, almost like an administrative fee for this, so it outlines that. I don't have a full copy of it yet, a finalized copy of it yet, but I have not seen anything that stands out to me as being anything unusual from any kind of IMA that we have done before. We've actually done one very recently. So I'm asking the board if they would authorize Yolanda to sign on behalf of the town of Ashland when we get a finalized agreement ready.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that?
So I just wanted to give, I don't know if we're planning to give an overview of what this program is, but I think it's important to for folks that are viewing that may not know what we have done with this grant opportunity. I don't know, Michael, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
So
Or
Brandy, I think that's a great idea, but let's do this. Let's do the business of doing the motion. If everyone's okay with me signing off on the agreement, and then we can talk more about what this is, but that's a great idea.
Mhm.
So if I can get a motion to allow me to sign and approve the agreement once it's completed.
so moved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Okay, seeing none. Kinsman,
Aye.
Vignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves, aye. Michael or Brandy, who wants to talk about this great grant opportunity? Or Jen, if she's been part of it.
Yeah, Jen, I know you've worked closely on this one. Do you want to take a shot at it?
Sure. So Beth Reynolds, our Economic Development Director, has been working with the City of Framingham and Natick to identify businesses or vendors that can help small businesses with their marketing needs, and that can be help create social media presence, help upgrade or create websites, help possibly with a marketing plan. And so Beth went out to bid and received we received a lot of interest actually for those vendors. And she's working right now to contract the vendors with businesses, small businesses. I think at this point, the last number I had is around 30 and sort of creeping up a little bit. To pair those small businesses based on their requests with the vendors who have the specialty. And so they'll work over the next several months to sort of build their marketing presence and hopefully increase their business and their marketing efforts.
Great. Any questions from the board on this grant? I know there are applications on the town website for small businesses, as well as if there are designers, social media, and marketing people who want to work to support this program. So that is on our website as well for people who want to do that.
I think that the date has closed. I think that.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It was the 3rd. Thank you, Brandy.
It's an incredibly tight turnaround just because
yeah.
The grant funding has an expiration date. So,
yep.
But there was definitely a lot of interest.
Good.
So the 30 folks that you had mentioned, Jen, is that businesses or is that vendors that we're looking to provide marketing services?
Sure. Thanks. About 30 businesses between the 3 communities, and we will likely contract with, I believe it's 5 to 6 vendors based on their specialty.
Wow.
Good.
I've talked to a couple small businesses in town. They're very excited about this program. It can be a real game changer for someone like Dolce de Leche who wants to expand their website presence and be able to increase their social media. And so so I just wanted to say thank you to Beth for all the work that she's done on this, and for the town for supporting this, because it's a huge opportunity, and I know it's a lot of work for her too. So thank you.
Great.
And if I could just add, that's, one of the things when we decided to hire an economic development director, how long was it? Was it as much as 3 years ago, maybe? This is one of the things we were hoping, as part of the revitalization, we could encourage all sorts of businesses. It's great to see this moving along.
Yeah, Beth has done a lot of work to get this grant as well as other grants for Ashland businesses. Steve?
Yeah, I was just going to mention exactly what you just said, Yolanda, that the amount of opportunities that the town, through our economic development office, through the select board's office as well, town manager and assistant town manager, to help our local businesses during these trying times, I think is just extraordinary. And I don't have any statistics, but it seems to me that we haven't lost a lot of businesses during this tough period. I don't know that, I can't quote statistics, but it seems like all these efforts have helped to, keep businesses afloat during a really difficult time.
Yeah, it would actually be good to get that. I don't know if we can, Michael, through, find out if we've lost businesses due to COVID. I mean, I think we've lost, a couple businesses have made some other business decisions, but it would be interesting to find out how we did. How did our businesses fare through the past year?
Yes, we're developing a more detailed report of what's been brought in terms of businesses and those who have left or have shut down permanently. One of the things, right before the pandemic hit, we had a whole slew of restaurants come into town. We started, becoming known as a community that was attracting restaurants like Mozzie, Dulce de Leche, Tomorrow's. If you remember, Mozzie was an old abandoned Blockbuster, and Tomorrow's was in a abandoned Papagino's. So, not only are we, bringing in businesses into town, we're also revitalizing some of these properties that have decayed and were being underutilized or not utilized at all.
I think we're also known as a town that enjoys good food.
We like to eat.
Don't look at me.
And I'm not looking at you. And we support good, we support our restaurants. Okay. Moving on to old and new business. The first item is Eversource. Michael, you said you didn't have too much, but is there anything that you can let us know or?
So we have filed our answers to the questions that were asked of us, and also our responses to Eversource in general. You can find that on the docket website of the EFSB. If you go to the docket search, you type in EFSB 18-02, and that'll bring you to all the documentation.
Okay, great. Diane, I know that isn't much new information. Any questions, or are you good?
Oh, so nice of you to ask.
Well, you sit here and I know that, you want to hear. And so I like to.
It is what it is. And it was explained nicely, and I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, approve the request from our Land Stewardship Committee to spend $36,280 from the Reserves Fund account for the purchase of a tractor to care for Warren Woods and 22 Elliott Street. I saw Carl Hackinson jump on. There was also a letter in our packet about this. Carl, if you can just explain this. I know my reaction was it's a little bit high, but then I saw the backup, but still, if you could talk us through this, I'd appreciate it.
Hi, folks. Thank you. We have been for about 10 years using a private tractor that's owned by one of the stewards for the work that we do there. That is now in need of repair. And I'm not sure that it was ever really appropriate that that be the case, but it has been the case. We've used private machinery there. There's a lot that goes on at Warren Woods that probably flies under the radar, both in the fields and in the woods themselves, as far as moving down trees and things like that. Two of the chores at the woods that we still do not do ourselves in-house are the brush hogging and the haying. We would, the members of the committee would like to be able to pass on a sustainable plan moving forward that allows for the future stewards to have the appropriate equipment to do these types of things. It does cost us money every year to do these things that we don't do in-house. So we priced a tractor that would allow us to do all of the chores that need to be done to keep the woods running smoothly and the fields running smoothly. That's what you have before you. This money would be taken, or at least I'm suggesting that it be taken from, as you probably know, we have several Warren Woods accounts that were funded by both the Northeastern Gift and the Audubon Gift, and those monies can only be used for the upkeep and the stewardship of Warren Woods. So it would not be an added expense to any capital plan for the town. We have, the last I saw, about $220,000 left in what's referred to as the reserve account. That's an account that the Stewardship Committee never touches. We take our expenses from the interest accrued on the perpetual care account. Our expenses every year have gone down as far as the expenses that we spend out of that perpetual care account, but I'm still not sure that there's enough interest generated from that account. Well, there is not enough to make an upfront payment on a tractor. There may be enough to do payments over time, but payments over time would cost an added interest to that. So our suggestion was to consider taking it from the reserves account, and it would set up the future stewards of Warren Woods with a tractor that belongs to the town and is maintained by the town, and is capable of pulling the added things that we have at the woods right now. We bought several things just out of our own personal funds with regard to haying and things like that, but we thought it was not an unreasonable request to purchase our own tractor. So, but I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Okay. Joe, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Carl.
Hi, Joe.
Thanks for the presentation. I appreciate that. I'm a little confused about the funding aspect of it. You're saying that you have this $200,000 in the reserve account. Now, was that interest that was incurred over the years that you guys are saving up, or is that the $200,000 that's left over from the monies that have been collected by the monies that we got from Northeast and Audubon?
No, Joe, if you remember when we first set up the original account at Warren Woods, we had a combination of things that were from, the majority of it was from the Northeastern gift.
Right.
The second largest donation was from Audubon, and then we had another gift from the Green Company. And then a few years back, we divided that up into 5 different accounts. One went to Just Work at 22 Elliott Street. One went to towards the Warren Barn. One went towards the Hall House. And then the remainder was split into 2 accounts, a reserve account that was just that, a reserve account, and a perpetual care account that has $250,000 in it that generates interest. And so our budget for maintaining Warren Woods has always just been spending the interest on that account. To my knowledge, we've never touched the reserve account.
Okay.
Is that clear?
And that would be the monies from Northeastern?
That would be the residue from that
Okay.
account. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the reserve hasn't been touched.
Okay.
Which is the 250, right? The Warren Woods Perpetual Care Trust Fund. Of
No, that definitely has not been touched.
Right, right,
But the reserve account and the perpetual care account are 2 different accounts.
right. I'm aware. Steve, go ahead.
So, well, first of all, I'm fully supportive of this request. It's clear that the Stewardship Committee has done a really good job of being stewards of the properties. My question, in the spirit of stewardship, and you mentioned this, Carl, regarding future stewards. Right now, I know yourself, Greg Wands, a couple of other people spend a lot of time doing the work. What are you preparing for in terms of when, let's say, you're not able to do the work any longer?
Well, that's a good question. We have had several volunteers come through, and sometimes we have more volunteers than we have work for, because sometimes it takes more time to break in volunteers once you become accustomed to the work. But that's not your question. We have some younger members, some that are, or at least one that's on the Conservation Commission presently. And we are still looking for people that have an interest both in in the farming history of Ashland and the ecological history of Ashland that would hopefully be able to either through the Conservation Commission or just through volunteerism, eventually take over some of these chores.
Good. Thank you.
And, you know, we do have, because we were asked to do this years ago, we do have a stewardship plan that we follow every year. And so that all of this stuff is housed over at 22 Elliott Street in an office that we have over there with everything related to Warren Woods and 22 Elliott Street. That these stewards that volunteer are aware that they are there. I think sometimes it's just they tend to maybe think that Greg and I are going to live forever. That's becoming painfully obvious that is not true. So, you know, having said that, we love doing it. So it's not really a chore for us, but we realize that there's a future there and that we may not be a part of that future. And it's important to find those people who will be.
Kind of like being on the select board, right?
Well, a little bit, maybe. It's a lot more fun than being on the select board.
Madam Chair, can I?
Yeah,
So-
go ahead, Rob.
Carl, were you here earlier with the Peter Stone retirement? So he did 50 years, you know.
50 years of what?
Of firefighter, being a firefighter.
No,
So-
I wasn't on. Sorry, Rob.
So by my math, you've started this 10 years ago. You get another 40 years. So
Well, you know, that's fine with me if you can guarantee that, Rob.
yeah. You're gonna have to consult with Peter. Anyway,
Rob was a volunteering Peter.
Yeah, well, Peter was probably
There's
a
a
lot
thought.
younger than I was when he
he's
started.
retired now. Yeah.
You don't make enough birthday candles so that.
So I want to echo Steve's comments about it. I know you guys worked very hard and you've been doing this for years about using your own equipment, and you know, I certainly support this proposal
Okay.
to support you guys. So.
Great. Brandy?
I also support this proposal. I think it's would be a good addition to Warren Woods and the Stewardship Committee. And thank you for all that you do to keep this as a jewel of Ashland. Did want to ask a question about, you know, the tractor. It would be housed at 22 Elliott. But if there was a need for the town to utilize the tractor in another capacity, whether it's, you know, whatever ways we would need to use a tractor, would it be available for other uses as well, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think to your first point, Brandy, it will probably be housed in the red shed because the garage is currently full of equipment. So we have some room in the red shed. We also share space in the red shed with DPW now. So that's not really my call because it's not going to be my tractor. It's going to be the town's tractor. How the town reconciles that is up to the town. The accounts that we're spending money on or from are designated specifically to Warren Woods and the upkeep of Warren Woods. So I would hope that that would be the primary purpose. If there was some kind of lend lease thing for whatever that might need to be, I'm not sure that I'm the person that really should be answering that question. I think that would be up to either a conversation between the Conservation Commission and the Select Board or someone other than just myself.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Carl, I'm thank you for coming on and discussing this. I think it's important for two reasons: that people understand that work that happens over there, it doesn't just magically get done. There are people doing it. There are people actively involved, so that when you walk by and it looks really nice or you go walk there are people actively involved. Just two questions. So are we looking to use this to do our own haying, or would we still bring someone in to do the haying?
It would be kind of an evolution, I think, Yolanda. This year we have, it's getting harder and harder to find people to hay just because of the nature of the business. Initially, we had the person that runs Eastleigh Farm do the haying. They stopped doing it about 3 years ago, and we got someone else to help us. That didn't happen last year. No one hayed last year, so we had to just mow it. We would like to eventually be able to hay it ourselves. This year, Eastleigh is back. They've asked to come back.
Oh, good.
So as long as we can get people to do the haying, we are involved in helping with that. We just don't have the equipment to that. And we would have to get subsequent equipment so that we had all the equipment necessary. We're getting there, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
So the answer is I would like to be able to do that in the future, but it would be a gradual process. You know, none of us are farmers. So we're kind of learning this I've learned more about tractors in the last 5 years than in the previous 60, but it's interesting, and hopefully we can pass that knowledge on to the next generation of stewards.
Great. Maybe someone who's watching or gets to watch this decides that they want to reach out. Who would they reach out to, Carl, if they were interested in learning how to be a steward of Warren Woods?
Well, probably the easiest would be to write to the Conservation Commission address, and then that would come to the Stewardship Committee. Megan would forward that on.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm hearing a lot of support. We do need to take a motion and vote. If anyone would like to draft the motion, otherwise I can.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Thank you.
So I move that we approve the request from the Land Stewardship Committee to spend $36,280 from the reserve funds account for the purchase of a tractor to care for Warren Woods and 22 Elliott Street.
If I can get a second. Thank you, Joe. We have a motion and a second. Kinsman.
Aye.
Mignani.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
Shear.
Aye.
And Greaves. Aye. That passes 5-0. Congratulations, Land Stewardship Committee. You can buy a tractor and continue doing the good work that you do.
Well, thanks very much to all of you. And just to Brandy's point, because I think I was a little evasive there. I don't really feel like that's my call, Brandy. If the board and the commission think that there's a need for that and we can work out some kind of agreement, that's their decision. It's not my decision. Having said that, the monies that are being appropriated for this were specific. And that's why I feel comfortable asking for it, because it's not an added burden to the town's budget.
Great. Okay.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Greg. I know Greg is listening. Thanks, man.
Greg just hopped on, so thank you, Greg, for coming, and thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Have a good rest of your night.
You too. Thanks.
Great.
Guys.
Okay, moving on our agenda, the Town Manager Annual Review. The last number of years, we've worked as a board, and the chair gets to read a statement based on the reviews that were done. Why are you shaking your head, Michael?
No.
Multitasking again?
No, yes, I am multitasking, but I'm just trying to figure out a problem which we created, so.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so I have a statement to read about the review of Michael Herbert. Each select board member reviewed him and spoke with him. So here is the statement. One of the roles of the select board is the hiring of the town manager. As part of that process, we also review the town manager on an annual basis. Each select board member creates a review and discusses it with the town manager, and then a combined review is created and reviewed with the manager. A little history to start. Michael came to Ashland 8 years ago on May 6th, so happy anniversary tomorrow, Michael. And also to Susan, who is 31 years. He spent 3 years as our assistant town manager and then moved into the manager's position 5 years ago. Every year we have seen him grow in his role as manager. He has brought on intelligent, hardworking staff to support him and to work for Ashland. Based on the combined review of Michael Herbert, our town manager, His rating is exceeds job standards / outstanding. It's a five-step standard. So he's in between the top and the next one down. This has been a complicated, intense year with the pandemic and ensuring the safety of our residents. Michael has been a strong leader for Ashland and has made some difficult decisions that have helped us get through the worst of the pandemic. Michael worked with local agencies, state and federal agencies to ensure Ashland had what it needed to deal with the pandemic. He supported the work of volunteers and staff who coordinated various programs in the early days of the pandemic to help those hardest hit. While dealing with the pandemic, he helped move 2 major projects forward. He and his staff worked to ensure multiple town meetings and town elections were done safely. He guided our staff in continuing to deliver the day-to-day business that is needed to keep the town of Ashland running during that pandemic, and did it in a way that kept staff and residents safe. Here are some of the areas that were addressed in his review. Challenges that have been identified and areas that we will encourage Michael to keep working on are his communications to the full select board, his at times overzealous attitude about how much can be accomplished at once by himself and his staff, his needing to finish the work on the strategic plan so that there is a roadmap for our community, and finding balance between growth and development and quality of life in Ashland. Michael was noted as being honest and hardworking, and some of his identified strengths are financial management, staff development, interest in keeping Ashland moving forward in a positive manner, and the ability to provide leadership and big picture planning. Michael's respect within the community makes him a true advocate for Ashland. He listens to residents' concerns and works with his staff to resolve them. Though Michael does not reside in town, any resident can see and feel the devotion Michael has for his job and for the town of Ashland. We are fortunate to have Michael as our town manager. Respectfully submitted, Yolanda Greaves, Chair of the Ashland Select Board, May 5th, 2021. Michael, any comments?
Sure. First of all, as always, I think I say this each and every year because it's true each and every year. It's refreshing that the board is consistent in what I need to work on. And you know, when I mean consistent, like all 5 of you have very similar themes that I need to work on. So that's great because I don't have to worry about juggling a number of different priorities. Again, I very much appreciate the support that you've shown me and the staff over the last year. It's been a very, very difficult year for us, but it's also been a very difficult year for you too, as well. I love working for Ashland. Like you said, I've been here 8 years. I don't see myself leaving anytime soon, at least by my choice. And you know, I can't thank you enough for all the support. I would be totally remiss if I did not acknowledge the work of our staff here. They are just top notch, second to none. And I really want to call out the people in my office, Assistant Town Manager Jen Ball, Susan Roby, and Diane Mortensen. Literally, they keep the place running, and they allow me to do that big picture type of thinking and stuff. I admit to being overzealous. I think that is a very kind way of saying impatient. But hopefully we can wrap some of these things up and move on to the next phase of Ashland's future.
Thank you. Woo! Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one comment, and it's really something I neglected to put in my particular review. And it's really, no, it's actually serious. I think it's something that, you know, I know you do a really good job of communicating through your town manager's report and your updates on a weekly basis. I'd like you to consider doing a state of the town address. You know, given the fact that we've got all these platforms, doesn't necessarily have to be done in a auditorium. It could be done via a taped opportunity and then broadcast. But you know, I think a state of the town would be, you know, an effective tool to getting to getting message out there, getting the work that's getting done and so on, and people would have the ability to view it at their leisure.
I mean, I know a state of the town is something I've been pushing for on a yearly basis for a number of years. So thank you for bringing it back up, Steve. I agree. I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I think we did it. I think Tony
We did it once.
Tony Schiavi did it
Yep.
once, right? And you know, I thought it was pretty effective, and you know, again, something some food for thought.
Yep, great. Anybody else, Rob?
Sure. One thing, Yolanda, thank you for that very good summary of Michael's performance over the past year. I think you encapsulate a lot of things. One thing I wanted to just add is the kind of, and I'm not sure you may have mentioned it, but I missed it, the kind of creativity in terms of problem solving. You know, I think that's one of Mike's strengths areas that I've seen, like when we have an issue, you know, Michael, think about what's the kind of cutting edge policy stuff and come up with a solution. You know, I'm not sure I think creative is a good term, positive creativity in terms of, you know, like there's been times where we've been at loggerheads and like, what are we going to do? And Michael step in with a proposal. I think that's one of his strengths, and like to encourage that impulse. The other thing, of course, is staff delegation or staff development, I think is a strong area. One thing, so Steve's question about, or point about communication, I think, you know, one thing, and I didn't put this in I don't think I mentioned this in my evaluation, but we've developed town communication extensively over the past year. We've got Ashley working on things. We do a lot of things. But I think what's missing from a lot of that communication is the role of the select board and messages from the select board and integrating what we do with the town manager's message. So this is not strictly about performance, but that kind of jogged my memory on that. And so, you know, I suggest that we, you know, if moving forward, if we're going to talk about something like the state of the town, that we talk about that as well. And I have a slightly different idea of the state of the town. I think the select board should be more directly involved with that sort of exercise myself. But anyway, so overall, you know, and Michael and I talked, and, you know, I talked about some of the other kind of finer points and some of the issues that we've had. And I think we've mutual agreement on that. So, you know, overall, just to echo a very good, you know, a consistently very good to excellent performance. And, you know, thank you, Michael, for your efforts over the past year, especially in light of this crisis that we've gone through. So thank you.
Appreciate that, Rob.
Randy, anything?
So the one thing that that I think can't be understated is how important it is that you, Michael, have a great working relationship with the five of us individually, and then the five of us as a whole. I think we have incredibly respectful conversations. I think that we accomplish so much because we are able to all work together in such a really productive way. So I think that is a, you know, that it's so important. I think that it's something that I don't know if the community really sees as much, but I think that in general, that's huge. For me personally, I've been in this role now 2 years. I've learned a ton, and, you know, Michael has always been there for, you know, any sort of questions that I have, 1,001 questions. So me personally, I appreciate that, and the fact that you're always a resource for all of us is a very big bonus. So thank you.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, to Steve's point, to Rob's point, you know, my job tonight was to review Michael, but as with any time you do a review like this, it makes you think of other things and how we can improve so many different areas. And we've all spoken to Michael about areas that he can improve, but there's also areas that we as select board, I mean, in regards to that very first state of the town that we did, the chair of the select board spoke, the chair of the school committee spoke. We included the schools as part of that. I think it was a great celebration of what was going on in town. and something we can look forward to again. And certainly, I think there are ways that we as a board can increase our communication as well. So, great.
That's a good point. Maybe Michael should evaluate us as well.
That's the tail wagging the dog.
Serious. Yeah.
And that's the tail wagging the dog. Not going to happen.
Well, just feedback.
Publicly.
Oh, it's feedback. You didn't get feedback when you sat and spoke with him?
I was
got a
going to
lot of
say, I had
feedback.
a great conversation. And
He said I
definitely a
was the
give and
greatest
take.
guy he's ever met. I don't know. What did he say to you guys? I don't know.
Oh,
I know
boy.
Joe hasn't said anything, so I must have really ticked him off. So.
No, I haven't said any because they saved the best for last.
No, you didn't raise your hand or give any indication that you wanted to say anything, but would you like to add something, Joe?
Oh, I have a lot to add, but
Well, let's keep
no,
it
quickly,
short because
real quickly.
we still
I
have a few
just,
items.
Just real quick. One of the characteristics that I really admire about Michael is his conservative approach when it comes to financial issues. He talked about being, excited and expanding and doing this and that, but when it comes to finances, Michael is really, really sharp with the pencil and really conservative. And he errs on the side of caution, which to me is a very fundamental principle in dealing with management and budgets. And it's proven over the years, from a $600,000 rainy day fund to over a $7 million rainy day fund total, shows that is exactly what we needed, and greatly appreciate that aspect of it. And secondly is his ability to hire people around him that make him better, but also make the town better. So greatly appreciate all the effort. And for me to have the hindsight to get this board to hire you when the time came. So that's always going to be that silver lining in my pocket that I was chair when we voted you in. So I just
Joe, I will be eternally grateful for that.
Yeah, I know that.
Some days I question it, but most days I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say, Madam Chair. Thank you.
You're welcome, Joe. Great.
Thank you.
Moving on. Town election location. It is still at the high school, right, Michael?
It is going to be
Okay.
at the high school. I do just want to give an update on just a broad update on the setup. And then I also need to ask the board to take action on expanding some early voting hours that we had already. So because of the commissioner's new mandate that's starting May 17th, all high school students need to be in school. There's no remote option. And to maintain social distancing standards, the school is going to need to use the gym or part of the gym. So we're going to have a little bit more of a compressed area that we're going to be working with. I just want to assure everybody that we'll still be following all COVID protocols. We'll still make sure that everything is safe. But I just want to give everybody a heads up with regards to that. So because that might provide a little bit more of an inconvenience to some people, we're going to ask the board to authorize expanding the early voting hours on Saturday. I believe it's 9 to 12. We were thinking 9 to 2. So that's hopefully the board would be in agreement with that.
And what are the times on Wednesday, Michael?
Jen, do you remember those right off the top of your head?
Can get it. I know it stops at 6:30.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Now with the gym, will we be able to utilize more of the space once school gets out for the afternoon, or is that, or is it kind of set up in a way that we won't be able to do that?
Yeah, it would be tough to adjust things in the middle of the day. It would be great if we could, but I think that might actually create a little bit more confusion than it would solve a problem.
Okay, fair enough.
And is that because of the cafeteria lunch that they're expanding out into the gymnasium area? Okay, got it. Thanks.
I mean, they were expanding out into the gymnasium before it was full student body in school. So, yeah. Steve?
So I thought there was some discussion about utilizing the community center as the polling place as opposed to the high school. And so what transpired to make that decision?
Well, so to change the location, we would need to extend the date out of the election pretty far. So that's why we chose to keep it at the high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think if we changed our polling place for everybody, that could cause confusion.
Notifications and everything else that needed to get done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions regarding, and it's really just reducing the size of the gym for the voting, and then extending the early voting on Saturday. Okay, if I can get a motion to support the extension of early voting on Saturday, May 15th, instead of 9 to 12 to 9 to 2.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brandy. Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Scheer,
Aye.
and Greaves, aye. That passes 5-0. So for everyone watching and who watches this later, Saturday, May 15th, there will be early voting at Town Hall from 9 to 2. It will also be happening on Wednesday, May 12th, 9 to 6:30 during the day. Great. And of course, you can also still do mail-in ballots if you don't want to go vote in person at any of those times. Great.
That's a
Thank
good
you.
point, Yolanda. Mike, do you guys know the turnaround time when people can expect if they drop it off of an application? How long is the clerk taking to mail out the ballots generally?
It's like a couple of days.
Okay.
Not very long of a turnaround time.
So
And you can get the application online. You can drop the application in the box and then it'll get mailed to you, or you can mail it in, either one. Okay. And then mail-in ballots have to be back no later than 7 p.m. on Tuesday, May 18th, so they can be counted. Great. Okay. Town meeting date. Any decisions on that one yet or not yet?
No, at this point in time, we're still keeping it on the 12th. Continue to consult with the moderator and the rest of more of the logistics team.
Great. Okay. Priority project updates. Just to let everyone know, if there's nothing really new, we might move past some of these, but we like to keep them on there. So Rail Transit District, anything new there, Michael?
The only thing new, and I will turn this one over to Jen, is that we did receive bids for the trail work of the Upper Charles Trail, and Jen
Woohoo.
a briefing on that.
yeah, that's good.
So yesterday we received 3 bids, and they ranged from 339,000 to 557,000. So right now I'm working with Bill Pele to sort of check the references and make sure that the low bid is, has all the necessary requirements before we move forward.
Cool.
It's a pretty wide range, but.
Yeah, and do we have the funding available with that lower bid, or even some of the middle bids if we need to go that way?
We do have it for the lower bid. That's right within the budget, sort of where we were anticipating, just a tiny bit lower because we took out the bridge. The second one is significantly over the estimate.
Wow.
I also have bills sort of looking at each of the unit cost to see if there's any options for us if necessary.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Bob?
Jen, are you intending to bring the bids to the Upper Charles Trail Committee tomorrow night? Joel was setting it up and wondering about that. Is that
Yeah, so
part of
I can't make the meeting tomorrow,
plan,
but I've
or-
sent him the bid
Okay.
form of the 3 bidders. I let him know that I was looking at the references and working with Bill. I asked him if he had any questions. I'm working
Okay.
most of the day.
So are you looking for recommendations or input, or?
So we don't, when we do construction, it's a bit different than when you guys did design work. You have to take the low responsible bidders.
Oh, okay, so we're
Checking the
pretty much.
references, You're
all right.
really looking to make sure that they're quote unquote responsible, meaning that they have the expertise necessary to complete it. But you're not able to sort of say, we like number 2 better. That's not the way it works for construction.
All right. And the second, I'll just use your kind of knowledge of this. We got in Merle Kunis just sent us some very impressive Eagle Scout projects to look at, and I'm just wondering, in terms of this part of the trail, anything pop in your mind as a potential Eagle Scout project that could help, that the construction isn't going to do, or we could help improve our own work on the trail as you went through all that?
So there may be. Let me go through with Bill in terms of unit costs, because obviously it will really depend if one of those items are a high item that maybe we could substitute, take it out. So you're able to take work out, you're just not able to negotiate unit costs. And so we may be able to, if necessary, take some of that work out and work with an Eagle Scout if we needed to.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll mention it to the committee tomorrow. That's a possibility. They can think about that. So great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else on the rail transit, Michael?
No.
Okay, moving to downtown.
So downtown, we have an expected break ground date now of May 17th. So the contractor and the utilities and our engineer and Doug Small and his team have been out. You might see them out in the next couple of days, marking things out. Geosio, who is our contractor, has secured locations to stage their work from. So, but again, they're going to be starting work on May 17th. So we're trying to get everything together so we can put out an updated plan to let everybody know this is what the impact is going to be. It should be minimal at the beginning. We do think, throughout the course of the conversations, I know one of the things that's been really concerning is that we might have to close downtown Main Street traffic to only one lane. We do feel like we're going to be able to keep both lanes open. So that's really, we're very fortunate about that.
Okay.
So you'll see bulldozers again.
Two questions. One, do we have, or when is the expected finish date for this whole project? I mean, are we looking 1 season, 2 seasons?
We'd be looking at about 2 seasons. So
Okay.
we're hoping to do the underground infrastructure work, like the drainage and the utility vaults and the conduit, and then also do the streetscaping work within, it's probably going to go into late summer. Late summer.
Okay.
After that, what needs to happen is we need to make the connections to each of the buildings, the utility connections, and then after that they'll take out the poles.
Okay. So my second question is, we've been trying to get a detailed timing from the state for the Route 126 project. Do we have, or are we creating a detailed timing for this project so that we can get that out to residents so they are aware well beforehand when things are happening, estimated, understanding that with weather or something happens, it could push it out or it could come sooner. But have we created for our project a detailed schedule that we can get to residents?
We do. It's
Okay.
very, very detailed, but it goes up until the finish of the streetscape work. So
Great.
it doesn't include things like the removal of the utility poles or the connections. Unfortunately, we're going to be at the mercy of Eversource.
Eversource, yeah, and we know that how well,
Exactly.
unfortunately, when it comes to removing poles, how that works. Okay, good.
A question.
Sure, go ahead, Brandy.
So I know that you said we're putting together a detailed communication plan. Have the businesses downtown, have they been given the heads up that May 17th is the date that we're going to start?
Brandy, I believe they have been, but I will check up on that. I know Ashley and Beth have been in communication, just like with the 126 project. They've been in communication with the project managers. Beth's very, very protective of the businesses in the business community. So I feel confident in saying that they have been notified.
Okay,
great.
Let me double check.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding downtown?
No.
Okay, seeing none, moving on, public safety.
So with public safety, I think everybody can see the progress that is happening. We have started to remove some ledge. It's, in terms of what we were expecting versus what is the reality, what we were expecting based on our soil probes and what the reality is, it's looking promising for us, which is always a good sign. And I believe we're still on schedule, actually ahead of schedule. I don't want to jinx that, but I don't know, Joe, if you or Steve or Jen want to add anything to this.
The other thing that I would just like to add is Jen gave us the update on the construction meeting the other day, and there were no, hotspots of concern. The only concern or discussion at this point in time is the communications tower with respect to having the availability of, being able to communicate, townwide with repeaters and other things of that nature. And I know that's in the discussion plan right now. I don't know where it's at, but I'm sure it's still in discussion. And there was one quick question about was there going to be an additional lane added to 135 heading towards East Union when we do the intersection or the redesign of the intersection. And I will get back to that to that question that we discussed earlier today. And it's no, there won't be an additional third lane there. The lanes will be a little wider, but there won't be an additional lane. So we'll leave it at that. And so that's where we're at. And unless Jen has new additional information.
No, I don't.
So we're good. And we're meeting next Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
Just want to thank Jen for, your updates and really keeping us informed. And
Yep.
I think we've all been hyper vigilant with wanting to see this project go as smoothly as possible and really, be a big asset to the town and hopefully on time and under budget.
Yep. And here they are. They're right here. Their fingers are crossed because I don't want to put the whammy on it, but so far so good with what's been going on, and the tops on top of what's happening over there seem to be working pretty well.
Good. Okay.
So.
I have no update on the Mendez right now. There's some meetings that are going to be happening. There's some information they're going forward to Conservation and Planning Board pretty soon, but that's it for Mendez update. Warren District and Valentine. We have plans for 433, or did I see that didn't happen, Michael?
No, it did happen. Actually, we had a late change today, and if you just bear with me, I can kind of catch you up to where things were, or where things are, I should say. So the person who will be buying the property, Paul Gustafson, if you recall, he originally wanted to tear the building down and build a replica. And so he provided plans to myself as part of the bid process. And I, in turn, asked a couple of people, including Cliff Wilson, who is president of the Ashland Historical Society, and who at the time we were thinking was going to hold the preservation restriction, if those plans were okay. And we had a couple issues with the front, with the windows, but otherwise it was okay. Subsequent to that, we were able to get Paul to rethink the idea of raising the building and building a replica and just moving towards a renovation. And so he's still doing a renovation. He came to us, or came to me like 4 or 5 weeks ago with some revised plans. Not major changes, but they were noticeable changes. And now that the Historical Society is not going to own the preservation restriction, it goes to the select board. I told him that I thought it would be in his best interest if he just reverted back to the original plans that had been, for lack of a better word, approved. He had been a little reluctant to do that, but today he agreed that that's what he would do. And if you like, I can put those plans up at this point in time.
Yes, please.
Michael, those the ones you sent to us around 6:30 this afternoon?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, same ones. Yeah.
Just rotate it. And then do I have the ability to share screen at this point? I do. Oh, I cannot.
Susan, or yeah.
Well, we can look at it ourselves, I
I
think.
think it'd be good to share it if we could. Susan, if you could make.
Yolanda, I made you host.
Oh, okay.
Co-host, so I can't do it.
Oh, okay. So let's see. I'm going to make you a co-host, Michael. Did you want? Yes.
Okay.
You should now be a co-host and be able to share. That'd be great.
Okay, can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So these are just some of the elevations, the current elevations, or what the proposed elevations would be. This would be the front. What we had a little bit of concern with is right now there are 2 windows here, and it went to 1. Maybe I'm being too picky, but
Why would you go from 2 windows to 1? Never mind.
well, believe it or not, the 2 windows that are currently there are actually cut off, so they don't really fit.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
That was the thought process. This is one of the side elevations. This is looking east, like if you were in the Chestnut Street field and you were
Okay.
looking. This is another, this is the south side elevation. Again, I think this is looking east. This does have, he has incorporated a garage into this right here. He is taking off the sunroom porch that you may recall. It's in pretty bad disrepair, but it's got a great view. And then it has this decking.
That's the front again.
There's the front again going to the 2 windows, or from 2 to 1. This is the other side, looking towards the what I consider the west. So this is the elevation from that. These are just the floor layouts, the floor plans.
Yeah.
So I think one other addition or change that might have been made is I think these are like separate dormers right now, and they're now like one bigger dormer. And Cliff and actually I ran this by Carl too. They both were in agreement that was okay. It didn't really affect the architectural integrity of the property.
Michael, that garage that he has, or he's going to build it back, the access to that garage, is that going to be a shared driveway with Northeast, with Framingham State?
No, it's not. Actually, as part of our MOU with Framingham State to do the land swap, we
Okay.
constructed a separate entrance.
Okay, thank you.
If you drive by there, you'll see it very, very clearly. This would use the original entrance.
Oh, okay.
And so just as you're looking at it, I'm sure you're looking at it in a little more detail on your own screens.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the whole point of this is to get a historical property restored, revitalized, back into good use, not necessarily using the town's money, but being able to control what happens there through a preservation restriction. So what the next steps would be is if you feel okay with these plans, we will incorporate them into the purchase and sale. The preservation restriction will also be incorporated as part of the purchase and sale, and those will need to be accepted and signed off on by all parties before it effectuates the transfer.
And we will hold on to that?
Yes.
Okay. When I say we, the board will.
Yep.
So what that means is that the board, if the current owner or a future owner wants to make changes to the exterior of the building, they would need to come before the board and request those changes and get those approved. If the owner tries to do something or does something that is not in concert with the preservation restriction, the board has the authority and the legal authority to make them correct it on their own dime. And obviously we have a lot more resources at our disposal than an entity like the Historical Society would.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding this? And then Michael, do we need to do any kind of vote for this, or to
I would
approve this
ask
to be
that
added?
Yeah, I would ask that the board vote to accept these plans as presented.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
So I just have one quick question. So these plans, I know, Michael, you've been, very closely working with Paul on this. In your opinion, has this, kind of stayed in the same vein, or is it still in the same, what's the word I'm looking for? It's been a long night.
Similar, is it?
Is it consistent? Is it consistent with what we wanted to accomplish with this property?
Aside from the windows, which really isn't a huge deal, I think so. I think more importantly, I also provided an email to you from Cliff.
Yep.
We thought so as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So I definitely trust his opinion.
In the spirit, that's what I was thinking. In the spirit that was intended. So just takes me a minute tonight. So okay, that's helpful because looking at these drawings, it's I'm definitely not as close to it as you, and I trust. And Cliff Wilson, if Cliff Wilson signs off on something that is that is in line with the historical nature of what it's been intended, then I trust Cliff and you. But yes, I think.
Well, I trust Cliff more on these.
Yeah, for the historical aspect, certainly Cliff's knowledge of Ashland is so helpful.
Yeah.
That reminds me, do we control the color?
I almost said something. I believe it should be white the way it is.
But I mean, just there's some control over the color. That's all. I'm not sure. But
that's actually a good point, Rob. I think we should classify it as white or some variation of white.
Yeah, I would think so. That would be part of it because that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we wouldn't want lime green.
People can get creative.
Or robin egg blue, or.
Now that might be okay. I don't know. Okay.
What's wrong with purple?
Nothing wrong with purple, Joe. That's why I didn't say purple. I said.
I do have a quick question though, because on the designs that have been presented, they have Mr. Pioviak's name and not Mr. Gustafson's name on there. Is that a legal issue, or is that something that we can do when we make take the vote? Do we add Paul's name to that? Because I don't see Gustafson's name on anything.
No, that's been resolved. Initially, they were partnering together as part of this, and Paul was the one who commissioned the drawings at the time. Paul Pioviak was the one who commissioned the drawings at the time. Paul Gustafson is the legal entity that would actually take ownership of the property. He's essentially just using the plans that Paul Pioviak had put together.
Okay, and they have some sort of understanding and agreement to do that, because I don't want something to happen halfway down the road and then someone says, "Oh, you used my plans without my okay." So is there something written or in writing that's agreed upon that it's okay to use these plans?
I don't know that, Joe. I'm
not trying to put a wrench in the wheel clog here, but there's a possibility, and I just want to make sure that we don't have to fall into that trap.
Yeah, I don't think that has an issue with the plans. I think that would be more of an issue, more of a legal issue in terms of ownership and the legal entities that.
Okay. You're good with it?
Okay. If I can get a motion for this. A motion to approve the plans as presented to be attached to the PNS for this property.
So moved.
I will move to move as presented, but also include that the finished paint color be
White.
Okay. Second?
I think Brandy already.
Brandy, you already seconded.
Okay.
Great. So
Okay.
we'll do Steve as the motion and Brandy as the second. Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Shear,
Aye.
and Greaves. Aye. Thank you. That passes 5-0. Thank you, Michael, for working this through. And
Just as next steps, I just want to let you know, so we'll put the PNS together with this and the preservation restriction.
okay.
I'll have Paul execute that, and then it comes back before the board to sign the PNS or authorize the chair to sign the PNS.
Okay.
Okay,
So do you think we'll have that for our next meeting or?
I hope so. Everybody wants to get this one going.
Yeah, we want to get this wrapped up so he can actually start doing it. Great. Okay. That was Warren District. Anything on Valentine, or are we looking for our next meeting to continue that conversation? Okay. Route 126.
I just want to bring up the issue of blasting that came up over the course of a week. It did catch everybody off guard, at least on the town side. So I want to assure everybody that before any blaster does any blasting, they have to receive a permit from the fire department, the local fire department. And I've talked to Chief Roby about that, and we don't feel comfortable issuing that until we feel like enough notification has been given to people to do a pre-blast survey, and give them the opportunity to schedule that at their convenience, and then also ample time to know that, when it's actually going to happen. If it happens, there is a chance that no blasting will happen and they will actually break the rock.
Great.
I actually don't know what would be more disturbing for the neighborhood, because if you hear those hoe rams going, it's pretty annoying.
And have we had any progress in getting a further schedule from the state on this project?
Not that I'm aware of. I need to check with Doug again and see.
I mean, I think the weekly updates have been helpful, and that's certainly been getting out there through social media and through emails. But it would be good to sort of give people at least, even if it's just, the next 6 months, what can you expect through the summer in regards to timing of things and when things are going to be ripped up and when things are going to be put back in place. So
I agree. They met, I believe they met earlier this morning. So I'll get an update from them.
Okay, great. If we could have that, and if there is an update at the next meeting, that'd be great.
Okay.
Okay, moving into town manager report.
So COVID update and vaccinations. So I'm happy to say that at least or over 50% of Ashland residents have had their first shot, at least their first shot. So, and I believe 30%, 31% of our community has had both shots as well. So
Nice.
we're happy about that. I want to thank the COVID team, and especially Ed Berman, as well as this regional coalition, for putting together this regional high school vaccination clinic.
That's great.
That's for those that are 16 and up. That is something that has been missing at the local level. And so I'm glad that that's going to be stood up and running. And really, we're still continuing along with our regular vaccine clinics that we have at the Doubletree Hotel. Can't say enough about the work that the coalition's doing, and Sergeant Berman and the Board of Health. Those have become popular is not the right word, but very convenient ways for people to get their vaccinations. And I think it's been really a lifeline for some people, because they don't. I think of my mom wouldn't be willing to drive to Worcester or even Foxborough by herself.
Right.
With it. So this has been a real lifesaver for people. Jen, do you have anything about COVID that you wanted to add?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Anything on the budget and or enterprise funds?
So I did meet with FinCom earlier this week, actually Monday night. We went through the general fund budget that we went through with the board at our previous meeting. They seem to have generally supported at that point in time. One of the things that that Jen and I were talking about doing is we'd like to give the presentation on the capital plan at our next meeting, so 19th, and we can give an update just on the general budget process as well. Still working through the whole waste management issue and the trash issue. I've got to kind of really put my nose to the grindstone and kind of figure that out
Okay.
with their team. But that still remains the big issue that we're facing. And then we should be getting guidance from Treasury about the use of American Rescue Plan funds. I believe it's on the 10th or 11th. So it'll be hopefully before our next meeting. Hopefully
Okay.
they don't extend it. So that would be good.
Great. Great. Anything else under town manager report?
At this time.
Okay. We are going to go to board reports. We'll start at the end of the alphabet today. Rob?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, my first item is just actually kind of probably should be. I wish I'd brought it up under Eversource, because this is the Eversource pilot project, or the geothermal pilot project. So I'd kind of like to turn Eversource's gas pipeline expansion into the Eversource geothermal pilot project. So, and I'm just wondering, I know Yolanda actually responded with a available time. I'm not going to be available next week, but I'm just wondering, Sean from Eversource did end up offering some times. Did we close the loop on that? Has that been scheduled yet, Michael, or?
That has not been scheduled yet.
Do you think actually, is next week going to work? Are we looking at a different time, or, or?
I think we could do next week, but I'd like for the board members to be able to be a part of this if possible.
I had responded next Wednesday. I thought, because they were asking for
Oh,
time.
I didn't see okay. I didn't see that, Joe. Yeah, okay. Well, do you see it as something the entire board needs to be at, or is it kind of like a committee or interested people?
No,
and I had suggested that,
I think it's
I want Chuck
interested.
to be there, somebody from sustainability, and of course, the sustainability coordinator, so.
With Zoom, if people can participate in Zoom, that gives us a little bit more flexibility. I think Chuck said he wouldn't be able to be there in person, but he could probably Zoom.
And
I
Yeah,
think
all right, so
the
let's
last
just close the loop.
response, I don't think we've ever gotten a final response
That's
from
right.
them, Rob, in regards
Yeah.
to whether it's the 13th or the 14th.
Right, yeah, so I'm just,
But that seemed like people's responses.
yeah, we should try to close the loop on that. But, if it gets delayed again, I think that's okay, as long as we're actually moving on this. So anyway, so I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah, the other thing is, we got, of course, in terms of COVID crisis, there's two countries in the world right now, India and Brazil, that really are having very tough times. And, I just wanted to put it out there that if people are interested in relief for India, there is an organization called Siwa International that our friend KG recommended, and I did send them. They seem to have a very good website, and that's www.siwausa.org, which is SEWAUSA.org. So I would, for our, folks are in the community who have friends and relatives in India that we could be supportive of. And, the same as for Brazil. I just don't have I'm not aware of a relief organization specifically for Brazil, but I would urge people to look at that as well. So to help them. So I just wanted to make that point and thank KG for, suggesting that. Just a quick update, and the MBTA advisory board met, and the T is going through their operating budget and their capital plan. So I'd suggest just think about a future agenda item to kind of update that. I had asked for some feedback from folks about this current schedule, and I think the short news is that they're going to be going through a public comment period in the next few months about both the capital plan and their operating budget, which will influence, I'm going to try to push onto the list some review of our own station, of course, and it will impact us in terms of frequency of service. And I did ask for some feedback on that from folks about how the current service is working, and I want them to do a more involved survey so we can try to see what's going on with folks in the future and what kind of service we should have. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Green Up Ashland was last week. So of course, I'm probably the first, probably everyone will mention it, but you know, what a great effort. And you know, it was good to be out there. And I do want to bring up the perennial nips discussion where everybody's picking up nips, and maybe we should think about some sort of regulation on those. But anyway, I did want to, you know, thank Green Up Ashland for that part of Earth Day.
So
And-
Rob, before you finish, just want to say,
Sure.
and I would recommend this to everybody, if there's something you've been to a meeting or you have information and you want to add it to an agenda, maybe shoot an email to Michael and the chair so that they're aware and they're not having to remember from the meeting directly. That might help.
What was that relevant to, Yolanda?
When you were saying that you said you mentioned a couple of things that you thought it would be good to put on a future agenda.
Oh, yes.
If you
yes. Thank
email
you, yeah.
that in, that way we
Sure.
know exactly what
Yeah,
and
that's,
how to
I'll
put it
try
on.
to, I'll give you the deadline on that one.
Okay,
It's
that'd
really
be good.
key stuff. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
Um,
you.
And then my last item is, I'm just pleased to be running for re-election, and I thought about it for some time, and I'm just I think we're moving in a very good direction. There's a lot of good things going on, and I'd like to continue with some of these with those things, and I would just. That's so I just asked for folks' support for my return to the board. This is our last meeting as this select board, and so the election is May 18th. So please remember the vote, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Steve?
Oh, a few things. I promise I'm not going to be as long-winded as Rob, but
It could be my last board report.
bear with me. So last night I appeared before the Board of Health on behalf of the Ashland Farmers Market. We're prepping for the beginning of our 10th season on January 12th. And so essentially we agreed that we were going to maintain the same layout and protocols as we had last year, and masks will be mandated. Even though the relaxation of masking outdoors, we just can't guarantee that we can maintain proper distancing in the market space. So essentially it's going to be the same. And we have a full complement of vendors. So, despite the COVID restrictions, we're anticipating a successful 10-year, and hopefully as things relax later on in the season, we can really celebrate a 10-year anniversary appropriately. So that's number one. Number two, I don't know if anybody else has had a chance to review the Beacon publication that comes out from the Mass Municipal Association. A couple of things stood out. Number one, and Rob, to go to your passion for climate and climate resilience, there was an article about a climate resilience tool that the state has developed predominantly for state and municipal projects, and to evaluate how a project will have an impact on climate and climate change. So I'm sure this is something Frank may already be aware of, our sustainability coordinator, but just that stood out. And then the other thing was that they updated the Selectmen's Handbook after many years, and it's available free as a download. I did download it. It's available as a PDF, and actually I can send it to everybody just as a document, and
Sure.
you don't have to necessarily.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, so that's new.
Does it say select board member now instead of selectman?
I think it still says
that's in-
Selectmen's Handbook.
Oh.
And
It's interesting
yeah, but I could be wrong.
because
But-
they voted to change the name to Select Board
They did,
Association, I believe.
yes. I don't know if they changed the cover on this, but
Yeah.
So next thing is I am actually attending my first live meeting in a year tomorrow morning. The Council on Aging is meeting live at the community center, and you may or may not be aware the community center is reopening. They're
Yeah,
starting
very
to
good.
have people come in. They're starting programming.
Nice to see.
The lunch program that's been going on for the better part of a year is actually, they're going to continue to have takeout, but there is going to be live sit down lunch on Mondays at the community center. But I think everybody's enthusiastic about meeting tomorrow live. So, and the sooner that we can go to live, I think, as far as I'm concerned, the better. But
I agree.
and then the last thing, I just, just to piggyback on Rob's comments about the election, and this is our last meeting before the election. I want to make just a couple of comments on my two colleagues who are running for re-election, and certainly we've gotten to work together on this board for a number of years now. But I think besides the work that we do on this board, I think both Rob and Yolanda demonstrate a passion and an energy that goes beyond just board meetings, and the work that they do outside of local government, I think is very, very important. It's important to me, should be important to everybody in this community. Doesn't always get noticed, but that's what volunteerism is. It isn't all about, right? It's not a pat on your back.
Nope.
So I just want to acknowledge that. And I just want to acknowledge, and I'm speaking as a resident now, that, myself, my wife are supporting both Rob and Yolanda for re-election. And, I hope that we're able to serve together come the 19th, our next meeting.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Good. Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would also like to thank everybody for clean up Ashland for the last weekend. I'm sorry I could not participate until I got my okay and cleared from my cardiologist. But then again, I would just like to thank everybody. And it looked like it was a very successful day, driving around town and seeing all these very large, bright yellow bags along the sides of the road. Again, many thanks. They haven't been picked up yet, but I'm sure they will sometime soon. I would like to remind everybody that the month of May is a mental health awareness month. There was a wonderful article on page 14 in the Ashland paper. If you haven't read it, it's a wonderful read. And I'd like to thank all those who contributed to this fine article. If you haven't read it, please read it. It's very insightful. I would like to make a quick spot on announcement that the Ashland Day Event Committee finally putting the final touches on our shortened schedule for the summer concert series. We are looking to have 2 concerts, 2 in July on the 13th and the 27th. And the start time is at 7 p.m. And 2 concerts in August, which would be August 10th and August 24th. And the start time, again, would be at 6:30 because it gets a little darker earlier in August. We hope to see you all at Stone Park Gazebo. And again, the COVID-19 protocols will still be observed by wearing a mask, even though we are outside and 6 feet apart. I attended the Ashland Housing Production Plan. I would like to thank Brandon Kinsman for leading that meeting. I was somewhat disappointed, and I had this discussion, and Steve brought up when we had talked recently, disappointed in the small turnout of residents who actually participated in that meeting. I would have thought there would have been more. I would like to see more. But for those residents who did come, I'd like to thank you and for participating, because every bit counts, and everybody's opinion can be utilized in a final design and how we want to see our housing project go. So again, thank you, Brandy, for getting that organized, and along with those who helped you along the way. I would like to thank the many volunteers that the town of Ashland has. We're moving forward in the right direction, and we can't do this alone. And we as a board can't do it alone. Mike can't do it alone. None of us can do it alone. We need to do it with the help and support from the townspeople. And I would like to see, more support and more helpful suggestions being added to us. Lastly, I would like to congratulate the Ashland High School Clocker football team. They tied for first place. They had a 4-1 season. Another great season to the players and to Coach McKay, dealing with a shortened season and with the COVID restrictions. Yeoman's job, so congratulations to them all. And as one of my mentors used to say during our morning school announcements, Mr. Joe Apicella, who was a very insightful individual, remember to be kind to one another, because you don't know what the day is going to bring. And I would like to thank and wish everybody a happy Mother's Day to all who have the distinction and honor of being a mom. So thank you.
You, Joe. Brandy.
First thing I wanted to just mention, the Clocker Club is having a spring golf tournament on May 20th at Blackstone National Golf. Sorry, like I said, long day. This is their big fundraiser for the year. All of us are very familiar with the Clocker pancake breakfasts and things that have typically happened during a non-COVID year, and this is their big fundraiser. They did approach me over the weekend. They are looking for whole sponsors for $150, and they wanted to see whether I would bring that to the board. And I know it kind of came about kind of late, but it would be $150 for the select board to support the Clocker Club. And just to remind folks, the Clocker Club is the all sports booster for both the high school and the middle school. And they've really done a great job this year in helping our kids still be able to play even in a COVID year. So I know typically we wouldn't bring something like this into a board report, but I would like to ask if the board would support the Clocker Club for a $150 donation to their golf tournament on the 20th.
So just before we so Brandy had brought it to Michael and my attention. Tried adding it a little bit too late on Monday. I felt that because of what the cause was and how much it was, I felt comfortable bringing this to all of you in a board report. Sure. Usually we would not do this, and also because of the time constraints. So if I can get a motion that the select board approves the $150 to support the Ashland Clocker Club's golf tournament.
So moved.
So moved. And a second from Steve. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Steve. Kinsman.
Aye.
Mignani.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
Shearer.
Aye.
And Greaves, aye. That passes 5-0. Thank you, Brandy. And
thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do you have?
So I know Joe was talking a little bit about the housing production plan forum that happened last week. I know we didn't get a ton of people in person on the Zoom, but I did want to let you folks know that because we are in this Zoom environment, it was broadcast by our friends at WACA. We know that over 400 people have viewed the presentation.
Well, that's good to know.
So I think that the reach is really good. I think that the discussion is really good. We're going to be having our next meeting as a committee next week, May 11th, and opening it up to the public. This is our last steering committee meeting before we finalize the plan and bring it to the board. The plan will be to have a joint meeting with the planning board on May 19th. And if at that point both boards vote to adopt the housing production plan, then it would then go to the state for certification. And then at the same time, we are still planning to start working on the inclusionary housing bylaw. That is going to be a process for the next several months. There's going to be 2 opportunities for the public to be able to provide input on that process as well. I think that, as a board, we all support affordable housing. I think an inclusionary housing bylaw makes a lot of sense. How we bring that to the community is going to be something that we need public input on. So,
agreed.
And I just want to thank.
Can I ask a question on that? So you're saying that we're going to be asked to vote on the entire plan at our next meeting, May 19th?
MAPC will be there to present along with the steering committee to both the select board and the planning board what the plan is.
Yeah.
And at that point, then there will be a vote.
So I just, you know, I'm generally in favor of the plan. I did have some, I do want some information about what specific parcels they're talking about. And he kind of flashed that stuff on the screen quickly. So
Yep.
Is that going to be part of the plan that you're expecting a vote on, the details at that meeting?
So I think that the parcel analysis will be part of that. I think, to your point, Rob, what they presented was a very high level.
Yeah.
You know, I know you all had joined the Zoom, and it was a aggressive agenda to be able to accomplish. So I think that the discussion on the parcel analysis was really high level. My hope is that you all will be able to get a copy of the plan to be able to review prior to our meeting as part of our packet. So I think that will be part of it. I don't know how much of the discussion itself will be focused on the parcel analysis, but you'll be able to ask questions.
Yeah, I guess my suggestion might be that that's a very detailed part, and maybe that doesn't necessarily need to be in that kind of detail for the plan to be in place. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we could have all sorts of discussions about particular parcels. I guess I'm suggesting that they look at not having that in, at least maybe in a general endorsement of certain areas, but without committing to certain parcels be for housing versus other things. I think that just might get us a little ahead of ourselves in that.
Okay, I'll talk to them next week about how they're going to present that in the plan.
Okay.
If it's going to be necessarily part of the document or pulled out into something separate. But
Brandy, do you know if, make sure I'm not unmuted, if the discussion of the parcels will be part of your meeting on the 11th?
I will find out. I don't know.
Because if it is, then it would be good for us, for those that want to see that, to maybe attend that meeting.
Okay.
That way you'd have more information, sit in on that meeting and see that discussion before it comes before
Well,
us.
yeah, but it may not solve all the issues. All right.
It might not solve all the issues, but if they're going to discuss it in detail, it might be good to go sit in on that one.
Well,
I'm
probably not available on that day.
My sense is really it's not probably going to be an in-depth detailed discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the 11th. But I will find out how that's going to be presented, because I think that's
Okay.
an important thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it to, like, arguments over certain parcels to derail the whole thing, you know?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Steve?
We'll get an email on that, right, for the 11th?
Yes.
Okay.
Real quickly, motion to go beyond 10 o'clock.
Thank you, Steve. I was hoping we
Second.
wouldn't have to do that, but
Oh.
all those in favor, raise your hand. There we go. Thank you. Okay,
Raise a
anything
bar.
else, Brandy?
So I just wanted to say congratulations. I know Joe had mentioned the Clocker football team. I also wanted to make mention of the girls volleyball, Tri-Valley League, long day, Tri-Valley League champs, and send our congratulations to them as well. I know that they had escorts in style with the police department and the fire department. So just wanted to send my congratulations on to those girls for a great season. I know a lot of the seniors on that team, and I know that they were super excited to bring home the championship. So
Yeah, our Winters 2 sports, right? I think that's what it was called. Oh, Fall 2 season was pretty successful. So congrats to all of them.
And I just also want, go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
No, you finish up. I just wanted to catch Yolanda before she started her report.
Oh, okay. The only thing I also wanted to just say is in regards to the election on the 18th, I just wanted to wish Yolanda and Rob the best of luck. I echo Steve's comments. Like, we all give so much to this community, and just listening to, Yolanda, works so hard with around the clock and our regional partners and everything else that she does. And Rob with the Upper Charles Trail and our transportation, and really being the voice of our net zero and sustainability. And so I would encourage everyone to vote on the 18th, but I just wanted to wish the two of you good luck. It has been such a privilege to serve with both of you, and I hope that that continues. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Brandy.
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
I know, Steve, you already said, but I need to do it. I'd be remiss because I didn't turn down my page long enough, and I had a 3-sentence to wish you both the very best of luck during this upcoming election. It's been a privilege and an honor to serve with you both. I hope we can continue to do the same after the election. You both exude a professional character that exemplifies how much you love and care for this town. And I greatly appreciate it and enjoy working with you. And I love teasing Rob about Upper Charles.
Of course you did. Very good. Well, hopefully you'll have the opportunity.
I hope I can
to keep
continue.
doing that. Yeah.
There you go.
So
Steve, go ahead.
If you would just indulge me because I neglected something on my board report real quickly. Speaking of volunteerism in our community, there's several people that are not running for re-election, and I think we should just acknowledge them.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm referring to Castellae on the Board of Health,
Yeah.
serving 3.5 years. Dale Buchanan on the Planning Board for 5 years. Lorne Bullerwell, Library Trustee for 6 years, and Carol Ombacher, a Library Trustee for 15 years. So I think a grateful community thanks them for all of their work on behalf of our community.
Great. Thank you,
You
Steve.
for
Very good.
Thank you for bringing those names. I was going to
Yeah.
mention in more general, but thank you. First, a couple of things coming up. The downtown Ashland is starting to wake up. This coming Saturday alone, there are 2 events. There is the Garden Club, their annual plant sale from 9 to 12 over on the Farmers Market lot. There'll be shade plants, sun plants, all donations from the community, from the Garden Club members. So if you want any Shasta daisies, black-eyed Susans, Rose of Sharon, or daylilies, they'll be there for me. I'm cleaning out some of my beds.
Very good.
And then the dog park committee is having their fundraising event. That'll be at the Corner Spot from 9 to 1. They also have some raffles that you can go online and buy. I'm sorry, not raffles. It's I forget. It's some kind of, so you can participate and fundraise to help. So the dog park is looking to do fundraising to have the 10% match as we go to the construction of the dog park, probably construction in about a year or so. And then reminder to everyone about the election. So mail-in ballots, you can still request those by going to the town website. There will be early voting Wednesday, May 12th from 9 to 12:30, Saturday, May 15th from 9 to 2. And then of course on election day, it'll be 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the high school for all precincts. I want to thank all the residents that have stepped up to run for public office, those who are not running again and who have spent various amounts of time serving Ashland, but also those who are stepping up now for putting yourself out there to run and have that public scrutiny, because those of us that are sitting here know that when you put yourself out for public office, there's always public scrutiny. Rob, I have appreciated and enjoyed working with you, the rest of the board. I've been asked, why do I want to continue doing this? And it's because I still love it. The opportunity to work with the 4 of you and to represent the residents of Ashland has always been why I do what I do and why I want to be on the select board again. So I would ask that if you're a registered voter and you've appreciated the work I've done for the last 9 years, not only as a select board member, but as a representative to various regional projects, I would ask that you allow me to continue working and give me your vote as you head to the ballots in whatever way that you do. So thank you. And I look forward to hopefully sitting here again in 2 weeks after the election. We will see what happens. Voters of Ashland, it's in your hands. I hope that I have done enough work that you appreciate what has happened and that you'll reelect me as you head to the ballots. On that note, if I can get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brandy. Let's do a roll call vote out. Kinsman.
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves, aye. Thank you for watching this select board meeting. Please get out and vote. It is your votes and your participation in the democratic process that will help all of us move and continue to keep moving Ashland forward. Thank you. Get vaccinated, stay safe, still wear a mask, and have a great night. Thank you for
Happy Mother's
watching.
Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Thank you.